What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 232. As always, we are your weekly gaming show covering all the topics across the gaming industry with legal, technical, and industry insight. And it's good to be back, kind of, for 2023. Morning, guys. How we doing?
Ready to go, man. Let's go. Here to support Hoeg this morning.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, as I'm doing the intro just now, I was already thrown off. Like, I didn't even really know how to kind of dive into this. So, as always, you've got me, Ainsley Bowden, you've got Mr. Dan Rodriguez, and you've got Mr. Ty Guy Travis coming at you for our first show of 2023. But you will notice we are missing our fourth musketeer. So before we kind of truly get into anything, I want to just offer a little commentary here. So I assume that everyone watching this, or I should say the majority watching this, know this already, but just in case, I'll cover it if not. Just before the new year, Hoeg suffered a stroke. It goes without saying that, a very, very serious situation, unexpected. Which obviously compounds the issue. And it's been, something that's obviously difficult to talk about, difficult to kind of comprehend and work through. Mrs. Hoeg, co-counsel, as we like to refer to her here, is in the chat with us. Good morning, Mrs. Hoeg. And I've been in contact with her. She has been providing a lot of updates on the status of Rick over the past week. And the promising news here is that no surprise from us here, of course, because we know how strong and sharp Hoeg is, but he is currently kind of surpassing all the targets that the medical experts up there have for him. So there is promising news on that front, but obviously it goes without saying there's a long road of recovery here. And, every day is what we can only imagine is a struggle and filled with concern and, a lot of things, right? A lot of emotions. So I think our community, like I said, is aware of this. And all I would ask is that you keep Hoeg in your thoughts, prayers if you're a religious person, of course. And that, you kind of pay attention to the updates happening with him. Please, if you enjoy his content and what he brings to this show, if you're not already enjoying his channel and his content, that obviously helps to a degree as well. So I would encourage you to do so. There is no kind of direct support link or GoFundMe or anything like that set up yet for him. But of course, if that does happen, we will be the first to share. Other than that, I just want to say, it's going to be strange. We talked coming into the end of the year as we closed out 2022 that with Hoeg joining us early last year, I believe, if I recall correctly, we kind of felt like the four of us had gelled and the show was finally kind of took its final shape, if you will. And it's, this feels a little weird this morning for sure. And it's a little different, but, we're here to talk about games. The one thing me and Dan and Travis joked about is that more than anyone else, Hoeg would want us to continue and to talk about games and laugh and joke and have a good time. So that's what we're going to try to do. So we'll see what happens for the foreseeable future. I think, we may have some guests here and there, but for right now, today especially, we wanted just the three of us and to provide an update and to kind of kick off the year with, letting everyone know. So, guys, anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to get close to somebody and have something like this happen. I'm not a prayer guy myself. I'm a comedian, and so I deal with trauma by making jokes. So if there's anybody out there who deals with trauma the same way, here I'll give you a joke. I've been working with Hoeg for over a year, and basically from the first time I met him, when he told me that he preferred Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, I knew that there was
the correct decision, by the way.
I knew that there was something wrong with his brain. I just didn't know what. And this really explains a lot. So ask your doctor about the early warning signs. Do you have a loved one who prefers Resident Evil 6 to Resident Evil Village? Do you have a loved one who doesn't laugh when they play High on Life? You know, you talk to your doctor, and remember to get daily checkups, because we should have seen this coming, and it's a real tragedy. That's what I have to say.
Very fair.
And I love you, Hogan. I hope you get better. And I don't know, it sucks. This whole situation sucks.
Yeah, it's it is a one thing I didn't mention, right? And I've talked about my, the major event I dealt with my family that we still deal with on a daily basis, pretty much. And moments like this, events like this, should put things into perspective for you. And as I think we do a good job here, both at Season Gaming and on the show in general, with something as lighthearted and supposed to be fun as gaming, right? To recognize it for what it is. And I think that moments like this remind you what's truly important. And I would ask that all of you, once in a while, if you don't already, of course, take a step back and just think about, think about something like this happening to someone you love, or whatever else may happen. And keep I'm bumbling my words right now, but basically, remember what's important in life. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through similar situations with friends, family, as far as like having these kind of sudden illnesses. I mean, this week alone has been, I mean, not for me personally, but, with Hoeg. And then we see, stuff that happens, to people that, that are in the public eye, Jeremy Renner or Damar Hamlin,
Ken Block.
Field. Yeah, I mean, it's you just never know. So just take that time, like you said, Ains, take a step away from gaming every once in a while, and realize what's actually important. When we got the news, it was just surreal, and it still kind of is. Hoeg is, he's always, kind of been that rock in the bottom right-hand corner, right? So it's always been, when you see him, fall down a little bit, all you can do is just, sit there and wait, because he's going to pull himself back up.
Yep.
And he's going to get better, and everything that Cool Console is, has shared with you and you shared with us, it all sounds super positive, and I'm pulling for the guy, and hopefully soon, hopefully, obviously there's no timetable. It's whenever it happens, but we're going to root for him, and we're going to keep pushing on, because I think that's what he wanted. He wanted us to do. So, I'll just keep representing and just keep the hope alive. I mean, he'll be good. He'll be good. And sounds like everything is trending upward. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Keep the Hoeg alive.
Keep the Hoeg alive.
By the way, to show you, or to demonstrate, I should say, that Hoeg hasn't lost his wit, I have a message from him for the two of you, which is strangely relevant given our DMs yesterday, which is, you better believe I'm getting my Cracker Barrel lunch. A little stroke is not getting you out of this.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. He remembers the Cracker Barrel amid all of this.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be good.
Yeah. Hoeg's going to be okay.
I just want to start by saying this. Hoeg and I, if you didn't watch previous episodes, Hoeg and I had a bet as to whether Dan would enjoy Midnight Suns or not. And I wanted to believe that Dan would enjoy Midnight Suns, but just given his history with all the amazing games that he absolutely can't stand, and his aversion to dating sim mechanics, which are just all over Midnight Suns, I thought there was no way in hell that Dan was going to enjoy it. And I staked a Cracker Barrel dinner, a restaurant I have never patronized, and he won. Dan not only liked Midnight Suns, he said it's probably his game of the year for 2022, which warms my heart, but definitely subverts my expectations. So that just goes to show, try things that you think you maybe will hate, and sometimes you'll be surprised. More often than not, you'll confirm your existing biases, but If you have an open mind, if you try every once in a while, you will be surprised, and you'll find the next thing that you truly love. Happened with me to me with Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. I reviewed one of their games and fell in love with the series. Had never played visual novels before that time, so try new stuff. And Hoeg, yes, I do owe you dinner at Cracker Barrel. I have no idea where to find a Cracker Barrel, especially one that is going to accommodate somebody who lives in San Francisco and somebody who lives in Michigan. But I'm there, man. Next time I'm in your neck of the woods, we're getting whatever they serve at Cracker Barrel. Crackers? I don't know.
Hash brown casserole, baby.
Hash brown
breakfast.
It sounds horrifying. It sounds like
delicious.
Anyway.
It's delicious.
Oh yeah, delicious but horrifying. Pretty much sums up Cracker Barrel's entire menu.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it's one of those places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saw that message from co-counsel this morning, and I almost sent it to you guys. I was like, no, I gotta read this to you on the show. So
thank you. That was a
good
great
sign.
surprise. I'm so glad he remembers us. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we were literally talking about the peg game yesterday in our DM.
We were,
because I went to Cracker Barrel for breakfast yesterday.
So what is that? They give you like a little board game to play while you're
the peg until there's only one peg left. So you've got one. You go up the triangle.
You jump a peg and the other peg disappears.
Yes, the other peg disappears. You pull that one out and you go to the next one.
You have to make it disappear. Okay.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it's manual.
Like checkers. It's checkers.
Science. Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
If you think of chess at the Cracker Barrel level,
yes,
you get the peg game.
Yeah,
it's tic-tac-toe. Tic-tac-toe solitaire mode.
That's what my wife actually. She told me a story that coincides with the peg game. Like it's some kind of like weird thing. Like this is the night, and he met this person, and and she starts jumping all these things, finishes it off. She had one peg left. I fell in love. That was it. Then I ate breakfast.
Rest is history.
The rest is history. 5 kids later.
And I too will fall in love at Cracker Barrel after playing the peg game with Richard Hoeg. Watch out, co-counsel. There's a new sheriff in town, right? And he's gunning for your man, all right?
Oh man. All right. Real quick, if you're not aware of hashtag shrimp fried rice, you can look that up. Look up Hoeg's account, look up Ian Runkle's account or Mrs. Hoeg. There is a story behind that. It's quite a funny one. But we're gonna just go ahead and let that run while we're talking today.
I'm taking bites out of it.
A couple super chats I want to mention before we get started. So Dan, you want to hit these?
And these were before the show started.
Yeah, this one was before we started.
Matt J, thoughts go to Hoeg and Mrs. Hoeg. Thanks for the show, guys. Well, thank you, Matt J, for tuning in and letting us celebrate a little bit with each other and talk about Hoeg. It's gonna be good, man. We're gonna have a good show.
Yeah, Matt. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. We've got Googleman is back in the new year.
Yes. Well, I hear the shake weight is on sale somewhere. Shake weight can be used while sitting.
That's got to be an inside joke.
Yeah, that's got to be a Hoeg thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's a Hoeg thing.
Amazing.
The shake weight. Wow. The shake weight is quite a funny device, but yeah, I'll leave my story aside here. Googleman, thank you. Good to see you in the new year. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. And shout out to Mr. Andrew Von Nagy, who became a channel member.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you. There was quite a few actually new channel members over the past couple of weeks since we've been gone over the holidays and stuff. So anyone who became a channel member, thank you very much. And if you haven't become one yet, consider it. Might be worth your while.
Can you explain what that means? I legitimately don't know what a channel member means.
Yeah. So we that's probably a good call out. You know me, I suck at promoting here. So last year, Season Gaming experimented with Patreon. We did it for a while, produced a bunch of content. Quite to be really, really blunt with you, got burnout. Last year was just too much. And so we've kind of readjusted coming into this year to keep it a little more straightforward, a little more simple, which is we're still going to be doing things like interviews, things like round tables, spoiler cast, those types of things, unique content features and things like that, which will go live early by a few days for people who are channel members. So there's 2 channel members, $1.99 a month if you just want to support Season Gaming. That's it. You can use the emojis and stuff. in our live chat, and then $4.99 a month if you want the early access to the things that we're going to put up through the year. That's it, really. So it's just a way to support us here at Season Gaming and what we do.
Great name.
Simples.
Nice. Got it. So it's different than subscribing to the channel.
It is.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, I know nothing about running a YouTube channel, so this is useful to me and maybe useful to commenters who would have thought that subscribing to the channel was the same thing as becoming a member, because I would have thought that. So
no, like you can see the people in the chat who have the icon next to them. There are channel members, and that evolves as the longer you're a channel member, you get nicer and nicer icons, and you can use the special emojis like our versus emoji and our individual icons and things like that.
Gotcha. So the bronze SG is the
bronze SG is a new member. Yep. And silver is means they've been over 30 days now, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. Real Radek says it's basically like Twitch. Pretty much, it's pretty much like subbing on Twitch. Yeah,
got it.
Okay.
Except for, like I said,
now I'll know which commenters to take their opinions in a hierarchical manner. You know, just like, oh, he's a silver. He's got the silver button. That opinion is more important than.
We only look at comments from channel members.
For sure.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
You know what would be cool? Just throwing this out there right now, like a T-shirt with just the 4 emojis, like on the front of it.
Oh,
like Bitcast or something.
Our icons.
Yeah, just our icons.
Yeah, that could be cool. That could be cool for sure.
So get on it. I'll buy one.
All right, I'll work on it. We've got one more super chat, a big one from Mr. Gecko Gamer kicking us off.
22 euros. In a bit of old news, a theme park in Spain, Port Aventura, is building a coaster theme to Uncharted. Judging by the already revealed layout, the type of coaster it will be a dark ride with roller coaster sections. I had no idea.
Very random, but very interesting. I had no idea that there was going to be an Uncharted roller coaster in Spain.
Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 4 roller coaster? Or Uncharted movie?
Asking the real questions.
If they really wanted it to be Uncharted, they would literally unchart it by removing the tracks. That way you never know what's going to happen. You know, a little crazy.
Hey, you jump at one point and, you know, it's like only a 60% chance of surviving the entire ride, you know. Have fun.
Let's roll those dice, baby.
Oh, man. Gecko, thank you very much, man. Appreciate you. Happy New Year to you. All right, guys. I guess we should talk about some games. However, before we do that, yet again, I do have a question that was provided by Sardinisms, who likes to kind of propose questions to us. So she asked, and I'll put you on the spot here a little bit. She said, what is something people assume incorrectly about a genre they don't play? And what's something you wish you knew before playing a specific genre? So the first example that popped into my head here, and I know Travis probably might have gone there as well, is the Souls games. So from games, you know, Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, etc. I think people assume that they are difficult just to be difficult, and that is not the case. Those games are built with specific systems in mind, where, quite frankly, you can actually make the games relatively easy as long as you use the systems properly and kind of understand what's going on. So I think that one of the biggest misconceptions I see pretty much is that the Souls games are incredibly difficult games that, you know, people can't overcome, and the only reason people like them is because of the challenge, and that really couldn't be further from the truth.
That's a fair one.
It's a good one. I have like a million of these. I probably could just like do one for every genre, because those who know me know that I'm pretty much into every genre. Like I legitimately like just so many games. And I just like games. Yeah, they're interesting to me. I could do one for pretty much every, you know, I talked about visual novels earlier, and I think a lot of people kind of see those as boring or, you know, not real games, and a lot of them are incredibly good stories, incredibly good games. Dating sims I've talked about on this channel before. I think a lot of people have a lot of negative connotations about dating sims. Also, and those games are super well designed. A lot of them, a lot of the dating sims are like legit, just great games. And I wouldn't have gotten into those without my fiance. I also I was having discussion. Hoeg, I wish Hoeg was here. He and I had a discussion before the break about whether Midnight Suns was a dating sim, and he said, Travis, there's no romantic love interest. It's not a dating sim. And I talked to my fiance, who is an expert about dating sims, really just like such an expert. And she actually was like, oh, well, dating sims don't have to have romantic love. In fact, there's an entire genre, a subgenre within dating sims of ones that have no romance options. And I was like kind of blown away by that. And so I would submit to Hoeg that I think Midnight Suns definitely qualifies in that regard because of its in-depth social link mechanics. And she started pointing out things to me like the gifting system and all that stuff that are like super hardcore and originate from the dating sim community of games. And so I think a lot of people who made that game, who worked on it, play a lot of dating sims because anyway, that I could do this. I could go all day on different genres, but I would just say in general, don't assume that you know everything about a genre of a game, or just because you don't like one game in a genre, that doesn't mean that you won't like any of them, right? And give games a try, and you'll be surprised at what you find. That's just my life philosophy when it comes to games.
Yeah, sometimes you're surprised.
Do it, Dan.
Sometimes you play Hades, and you're like, I have no idea what everybody likes about this game.
Dan's like, if you haven't played Hitman, play Hitman.
Yeah. I don't really have an answer to this question. That's the problem. Yeah. Because I play very few genres. It's like blockbuster action, third/first person, whatever, Hell, I've been playing The Witcher for the past 3 weeks. So
yes.
That's
that's never a wrong answer. I mean,
but I mean, every once in a while you can get surprised. Midnight Suns for sure surprised me this, last year. There's like one romantic / I don't know, like story that's kind of a side thing. It's really just one though. Like that's what scared me the most. I was like, is everybody just on here in FN or something? What is going on? Because the way you described it, Travis, I thought I was going to walk into this giant castle and everybody's going to be trying to like hook up with like it's some kind of MTV, next TV show or something, and it was nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean it's that's sort of the what do you call it, the knock against the dating sim genres, that people think that that's what it's all about, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes this is why I don't take offense when people describe Mass Effect 2 as a dating sim, because it legitimately draws a lot of its like social link mechanics from dating sims, and that's not a bad thing. The game benefits from that, I think. And I think Midnight Suns takes a lot of cues from that. Like the fact that you have to think about, I got to give them a gift every time I hang out with them. And the fact that they call the hangout dates, right? And then you go on a date with them, and at the end you get a chance to give them a gift. That comes straight from dating sims and from visual novels. And it's just very funny to me that they threw so much of that into the game. But it works, right? Because you need something to do in between all of that super complex, thoughtful turn-based combat. And it is perfect at breaking that up with
Persona's like that.
Thing else to do. Persona's like that too.
Yeah.
Persona, yeah. JRPGs have a lot of that kind of social link stuff as well. So
you kind of need that carrot though that's hanging at the end of that. Like for me, doing all those hangouts and stuff in that game was basically
to
for
power up your character,
power up my character, right?
Yeah.
To get that ultimate card or whatever when you hit level 5 friendship or whatever with them. And some of it's kind of annoying. And then some of that stuff comes in late, and you're just kind of like, man, I got to sit here and just power through this. But I mean, for the most part, it was fine. I really enjoyed the combat more than anything else. But, I definitely enjoyed the Abbey a lot more than I thought I would.
Exactly. It brings me so much joy to think that Dan was sitting there looking at responses when talking to Captain Marvel and trying to figure out which one that she was going to like the most to get that heart symbol. You know what I mean? Like that gives me life to think that Dan had to go through that game mechanic, and he came away from it liking it. Like that's like, come on guys, we did it. We're here. We got Dan to enjoy that, which is great.
Good stuff.
RJHS about my comment about Souls games. He says, in that case, do you think Souls-like games do a bad job at letting players that think they know that it's not like that? Meaning, the perception of these games, it's all about how hard they are. Do they do a bad job at basically communicating that?
Yes.
And I think, I was going to say, I think my comment would be yes. I guess how some of us look at it is, and I had a good conversation with Stephen Danton recently on the channel. You can check that out, an interview with him. And he's he worked at Microsoft, and he designed with his wife Unto the End, a game that came out a year and a half ago, or end of 2020. And we talked about that with Elden Ring. And we both commented on the fact that you don't get a lot of experiences nowadays, at least from maybe major AAA titles, that just give you the sandbox and say, figure it out. Right. And that's what Souls games essentially do. Figure it out. You know, like here's Elden Ring. You walk out of that first dungeon, which is like 10 minutes. Right. And it's like, here you go. And we're going to put this giant big guy in front of you who can kill you in one hit just for the hell of it. And I like that. And I know some people like that. There are other people who hate that. So I think it's more of a personal preference type thing, honestly.
Yeah. I played that too, by the way. Played some Elden Ring. And
like 28 minutes.
No, I played let's see. I literally got to the character selection screen the first time I loaded it, and I quit. I was like, no, I don't know what to pick. So it was already overwhelming at that point.
I don't know if that counts as playing, but go on.
Okay, hold on. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I hear through the grapevine that the mage is super overpowered. I'll try a mage. That did not work out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and start again because I only really played like 10 minutes.
How didn't it work out exactly?
Mostly because I suck. And then I did the sword and board build, just like whatever the vanguard or whatever the hell the hero is. Not the hero is. What's the guy with the shield sword?
There's a couple, but go ahead.
Yeah, he's like the basic guy. And so I was like, okay, this will work better. So then I couldn't. I go out. I see the giant guy on a horse. I'm like, okay, I'm going to avoid that guy at all costs. Mostly because my son said, yeah, avoid him at all costs. And I was like, all right, no problem. So I run around a little bit and get to the little church, get whatever. Then I get my horse, mostly by running to it, and then I get to this little camp, and it's just like an old castle that's broken down, and there's a bunch of scrubs, and then there's like one guy that just walks back and forth. And I'm like, okay, I killed literally everybody. I was like, oh, they're all dead. I got this dude, no problem. Annihilated me like 6-7 times in a row. And I was like, what is happening? I thought my shield is like blocks everything. I thought that was the whole mechanic. Like, it does not.
It depends on the shield. You have to look at the stats.
Well, it wasn't one of those little parry shields. It was like the big shield.
No, you can't go and look. You got to look at the stats of the shield.
I got time for that garbage, man. just work. Just work.
Bro.
Just work.
You were building decks in Midnight Suns and looking at cards and stats and all that stuff. You can look at a shield.
No, this is
you can do this. You can do this. There's also
I believe in you.
I heard there's a great beginner's guide on a site called seasongaming.com. Just
I did.
Rumor I heard.
I saw that, and it didn't help me. This is a skill issue, guys. It's not a design issue. I'm more than willing to admit my
I don't know. I honestly think, Dan.
Yeah.
I think it's a you issue. Not a skill. I think if you're not willing to look at the stats of a shield, you're never gonna get through this game. Let's just.
What does the stats have anything to do with it? I mean, it's just. Does
the stats will tell you how much of the damage penetrates through the
It said 100. I did see that. It said 100% of physical damage. Well, what the hell is he doing? He's hitting me with
probably
the
had like a
lightning. Is that mental? Is that
had a lightning spear, or fire? You know, it's a video game. Sometimes weapons have elemental effects. You know, it's a pretty common mechanic.
Right now, you guys are getting a peek into our DMs. This is what it's like, essentially.
I'm trying, Ains. I'm trying here.
All right, we're gonna move on because yes, we know that conversation. Trying to explain Elden Ring to Dan could be the worst TED talk you've ever heard in your life.
No.
I will comment on this because I thought this was cool. Yago, who always supports us here, he says, I remember when the Bitcast was just 2 guys, a basement, and a fold-out table. This show has come a long way. Yes, it has. So thank you for that comment, man. There was a time.
That table was solid. That was a solid.
It was a solid table. I actually broke it. Not a joke. I broke a leg on it. I had to throw it out. Yeah, I swear.
Damn, man, that was a good table.
Yeah, it used to be my poker table.
In that basement, they keep me here.
He's right over there.
This is the table.
No, and all jokes aside, Dan and I used to record right over there across my gaming room. And but even before that, right, there was a time, this is not a joke, where, anyone who starts a new podcast has gone through this, where we would get like 15 views in a week and 7 of those were friends. You know what I mean? Like,
And us.
and us, you know? So
Yeah.
it has come a very long way. And a lot of new people here that hang out with us every week or listen to us after the fact. And it's hugely encouraging and hugely, you know, it's just, it makes us feel really good about it. So thank you very much. All right. So let's talk about what we've been playing, guys. I finally did it. I made a joke about myself last week where I said that I told these guys over the holidays I was going to finally go back to Forbidden West, and I hadn't because I had like 45 hours in The Witcher 3 since the update, and I was addicted to that again.
How crazy is that, man? How
It's
crazy!
so good,
it's
though.
So
it's so
good.
so good.
I'm about the same.
Yeah. So I was doing that, and then my time has been a little more limited than I had hoped, sadly. But I basically said, okay, all jokes aside, I got to force myself. I turned Witcher off. I turned my PS5 on. Horizon had another update, so I hadn't turned my PS5 on in a while. And I started playing a few days ago now, and I'm fully into it. So the good news is I figured out where I was, what I was doing, what the controls are, which took a while. But I'm fully back into it now, and I've probably played 5 to 7 hours over the past few days. I think I just hit level 18 actually. So I mean, I'm not right at the beginning. I think I had 12 hours in it or so at launch, which I know is nothing because it's a huge game. But I'm enjoying the hell out of it. And I got to say, if you haven't gone back and played Forbidden West since launch, the updated performance mode they added in that game is effing mind-boggling. Like I can't even comprehend how it looks and runs the way that it does. It basically looks like God of War Ragnarok, which looks incredible for all its other faults. It looks absolutely incredible, but in an open world, which makes it that much more impressive. It's just super smooth. It's super beautiful. Aloy still talks way too much. But I am, I'm kind of pushing through that annoyance. The rest of the game, really fun so far. I have a few niggling things here and there, but I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Nice. I must say, I'm surprised, Danes. I really thought you weren't going to make it back
Dude,
from the war.
I bought my bakery sheet. We're seeing, it's piece by piece to see if I can get the bakery to come together.
I'm just glad you made it home. That's all I have to say.
I got a baking sheet in one hand, my intestines in the other. I'm doing my best.
I'm happy for you, man. I'm really happy.
So, and on a more funny note, I am now like collection level like 850 in Marvel Snap. So it's not hugely impressive, but I have been consistently playing it over the past few weeks.
That's my collection level. I've sort of dipped a little bit just because I've had other games that I want to play, but I'm still, logging on. Still consider myself kind of a fanatic at this thing. I'm collection level 2,692. I have a problem. All right. Anyway.
And how is that even possible? Like that's
I've just been playing since the game came out and doing my challenges or bounties or whatever every day. So yeah, I don't know. I'm weirdo. A lot of the games. What are you playing, Dan?
Well, I don't know what I'm playing. What am I playing? Witcher 3, a lot of that. Midnight Sun still. I still haven't finished it. I'm still going.
What chapter are you on?
I'm on the 3rd act.
Me too.
Just got to, I think.
Okay, I'm farther than you then. I think I'm near the end of the 3rd act.
It's one of those things where I get, like, if you just, mainline the story, I mean, number one, you would probably lose your ass. But number two,
what difficulty are you on?
The second one, the one above normal, whatever that is.
Oh, okay. Heroic something.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember. I upped the difficulty one time, and that was it. I don't even know if I can continue to do that.
I'm on the difficulty. I think it's Ultimate 3. It's like right before the hardest difficulty that they offer, and all my levels take like 45 minutes to complete because they're even the side missions.
Yeah, they take
one false move and you just get destroyed by somebody. Yep. So
yeah, and that's the fun part of it is that tactical, trying to figure out, God, I really need this one card to land, because and I still not a huge fan of the deck building genre, but I think my love for Marvel kind of helps out that little thing, and then I'm still kind of figuring out all the additions and you can upgrade your cards certain ways. Yeah, the mods. That's
how big is that game? It sounds huge.
It is like the Abbey.
It takes forever.
just from a standpoint of like when I started playing, I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. Then I looked at the Abbey map and I was like, damn, this is pretty big. And but because a lot of it's blocked out, you open it up as you go along. And I didn't think I thought I was like, okay, this is about enough. And then more stuff opened up, and then more stuff opened up, and then there's a lot more to it than I thought there was going to be. But the battles are super fun. I really do enjoy those.
Yago said in the chat it took him. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was saying Yago just said in the chat it took him, what's that, 112 hours?
Yeah, I mean, the reason it can take you that long is because you can just infinitely do side quests.
Yes.
It's got the same problem as XCOM 2, where like you could like I think I spent like the first 30 hours and I hadn't done a single main quest. I was just grinding up levels and getting gear and loot and stuff like that. And so you can just waste hundreds of hours if you really want to. I'm at the point now where we're sort of like, all right, we maxed out relationships with everyone. We have like all of the decks we want fully upgraded. Let's just like go through the story. So we're kind of like pushing through it. But pro tip, Dan, something that's really helped me like up my game is the marking effect. Do you know about marking?
Yeah, I know about it, and I've used it a couple times, but I've never really, because I think Nico has
focus marking if you can, because basically if you mark somebody, it means that if you kill them, you get refunded for whatever card you used to kill them. And so you can use that. You can mark entire groups of enemies and then just chain getting kills and then get your card plays back. And that's just like invaluable. So it's my recommendation. Status effects are super useful, like making them vulnerable and then marking them in the same turn if you do both, and then they just get destroyed. It's great. So
I know vulnerable on me doesn't work as well, it seems like when I become vulnerable, I have a card that basically I play it, I hit somebody, I get a vulnerable, but it just never seems to affect, I guess. I don't know if that's like a broken mechanic.
No, that's just because you're on a lower difficulty, so it's kind to you about vulnerable. When I get vulnerable on my character, I get one shot by people. Like literally, they hit me and it does like 400 damage from like a regular guy punching me, and I'm just like, God damn. So, also Captain America OP. My God.
See, I think Captain America is my favorite.
Really interesting.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's such a good game that I didn't expect to like. But I should have, because it's really, it's got that, the combat mechanic is really fun. It really does remind me of XCOM to an extent, but it's done very uniquely, so, and I understand now, having played it, why it needs to be that way, because if it was more like XCOM, playing with these Marvel characters with their actual powers and stuff like that, it would just be disgusting. I mean, it wouldn't even be fun. So, but they did a great job. I mean, for Axis, I could have known better. I mean, they're one of my favorites. So
good dev, solid dev,
great dev.
Travis, you've been playing anything interesting? I know there's a couple things you can't talk about yet, and obviously we're only probably a week removed from when games ramp up for the year in terms of reviews, and it's going to be a crazy early part of the year. But
so needless to say, I got a little bit of a break. I spent 2 weeks catching up on games. I completed a whole bunch of games on my list. Notably, I'm still maybe halfway through God of War. I've played like 20 hours of that game, so I'm still catching up on Ragnarok.
So you're almost getting to when the game starts. Okay.
Basically, yeah. I'm
You've got through the first conversation.
I'm actually enjoying it more than I thought I would, but that's because I'm kind of taking it slow. I'm not forcing myself to just like marathon it. I'm sort of like I mentioned to you guys that my fiance and I are splitting Midnight Suns, so I've been playing Ragnarok on a smaller screen while she's been doing the social link stuff in the Abbey in between Midnight Suns, because that takes her like an hour. So I've been playing it in little bite sizes, and it's pretty good. As for work, I immediately got loaded up with reviews and previews and a bunch of other stuff when the year started. So I'm working on my first review, which is a SpongeBob SquarePants platformer that I'm reviewing, and then
nice.
I've got a couple previews. There's a few I can't talk about, unfortunately. But I did want to talk and recommend to people in the audience of a game that I had not heard of until I was given a code for it and spent maybe 15 hours playing it over this last week. It's a game called Wanted Dead. I'd never heard about it. and I
Okay.
just started playing it recently. I think it's made by the developers of Ninja Gaiden, the notoriously hard
Like
slashing
Team Ninja,
game.
or like
No,
going
the
way
other
back.
one. Yeah, the old one.
Okay.
Which I think is a Japanese studio, right? I'd have to look it up. I'm sort of
Yeah.
speaking out of pocket here, but it's sort of like a hack and slash type of game that's super hard. Like you have to run around and slash, and you shoot a gun, and people are shooting at you with guns, and you have to like dodge past them and hit them with your sword. Super frantic. It's sort of like, Dan, I actually think you would like it if you could put up with the difficulty, which granted, I am playing on hard. I haven't played on normal, so I don't know what it's like normally, but it's basically like what if Ninja Gaiden was made by the guys that made Yakuza? Like it has like the super weird, like just tone to it, and like ridiculous mini games, like a mini game where you have to eat ramen as fast as you can, and it's got karaoke and arcade vending machines and just like stupid stuff like that. And it's just really surprised me. It's a super weird game. The voice acting is ridiculously like kind of bad, like not kind of bad, like kind of just definitely bad. But it's sort of I've just been having a really fun time with it. So I'm gonna write about that game today, and I'll have something to show the world. I don't think I'm allowed to talk about it, like allowed to publish anything about it for a couple weeks, but I think I'm allowed to say that I'm playing it. Yeah, I'm been really surprised by that. So I've been playing a little bit of that, and I think everything else I can't really talk about, but I'm gonna start publishing stuff very soon here. I'm off to the races, man. It's going to be a really exciting year. I also started doing news this week for IGN, which has nothing to do with what are you playing, but I'm it's been a busy start, and I'm really excited about it's the best part about reviewing is not knowing what games you're going to have to play, and kind of not really knowing what your play catalog is going to look like. I love that, because in the past, before I was a reviewer, I'd know which games I was going to play. Here's the 15 games I want to get through this year, and they're all the games that I like and that are the biggest ones. But now, I might be playing a SpongeBob game, and that's just not. It was never on my my advent calendar, so I'm just excited to see what I end up with. And games are great, man. We live in the blessed timeline. So,
I mean, this
very
year
good, man.
It's going to be insane.
It is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's too early for that segue. Hold.
Damn it! I tried. That was my goal this year, to do a good
I know you tried. You tried. Oh yeah, okay. That's a good goal to have. Well, I've got a couple other things I want. A couple other super chats to get to, and then we're going to talk. I want to talk about PSVR2 because CES is ongoing, and there's Sony decided to show up there with some other products, but they talked quickly about PSVR2, and then yes, we're going to go through 2023 releases because the year, excuse me, is going to be nuts. So we'll talk about that. But let me get these super chats that have been sitting for a few minutes.
Yes, Iron Cake with the $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. My daughter Alana is now pining for an Elden Ring themed amusement park ride. Could be fun and frightening simultaneously. Get well soon, Hoeg. Yikes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's do it.
Just getting through the line is super difficult and takes probably 3 or 4 hours. That's probably what I'm guessing.
Well, you got to pick your class. You got to pick your gear. You got to figure out what you're going to use on the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look at the stats.
Yeah, look at the
I'll be honest. I'm not really a theme park guy, but an Elden Ring amusement park ride sounds like an unmitigated nightmare of an idea. Don't do that. don't do that. That sounds
terrible. Well, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you. Random names back in 2023.
Yeah, with the $4.99 super chat. Prayers go out to Hoeg, Co-Console, and their family. Enjoying the show as always. Has become my favorite podcast. Hoping this is the year for Xbox. I think we all are, man. Because your side.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I'm not necessarily like rooting for I guess I'm rooting for them as much as I root for any other gaming company, but I hope that they participate this year, certainly.
Right. I think that's what we're saying.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment on the podcast. Love hearing that. And yes, we're actually going to talk here, like I said, momentarily about Xbox and what's to expect. It is looking good. Looking very good, actually, but
last year looked good too.
Delivery and looking good are two completely different things. So, thank you as always. Appreciate you. And just a shout out to, is that Brigitte? That's not Bridget.
No, it's not
Brigitte, I believe. Yeah, becoming
or maybe Bridget was taken. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. Either way, thank you for becoming a new channel member. Shout out to you. Thank you very much. Okay. So PSVR2, guys. So if you're not aware, the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, is ongoing. A lot of cool tech being shown if you're into that sort of thing. Actually, one of the coolest things I saw, guys, was earbuds you put in, turn them on, and then whatever someone speaks to you in a language, it translates to English for you automatically while they're speaking.
Whoa.
I was like, that's cool. That's very cool.
I saw the wireless television screens.
Wireless OLED television. Yep,
yeah,
with the batteries.
That was
crazy.
Yeah,
completely wireless.
And they have a battery that lasts like 6 months, and then you charge and you hot swap it. And then you can also put the screens together to create a bigger screen. You can put like 4 together, and you just pick them up. Pick them up with your hands.
You just pick them up, move them around.
Yep. The wireless television screens.
Yep. And basically the content goes over Wi-Fi, to stream to the TV essentially. So
yeah, but I
cool
don't
future,
think they
man.
have like HDMI's. You can't play games on them, or because that would sort of defeat the whole purpose of having a wireless TV if you had to connect it with an HDMI cable anyway. So
yeah, until you're able to carry a ultra high data bandwidth wireless signal, it won't work that way. But technology is still very cool. It's coming.
xCloud, anyone? It's going to happen.
Exactly. But PSVR2. So there was a brief segment on PSVR2. It's hard to believe we're actually just over a month away from its launch. So February 22nd.
Really?
Yeah, February 22nd, man. It's coming.
Wow, there is no steam behind that. Holy okay, well, good. I'm just surprised that's like I've not heard any like hype or game announcements. Jesus. All right,
well, I'm getting there, man. I'm getting there. Yeah. So Jim Ryan came out, who, by the way, he's
electrifying Jim Ryan.
He is a cardboard presenter. Like I told some friends, like even in my leadership in my company, we wouldn't want him presenting. And I promise you, he's the president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. Like, what are you doing? Like he's just the most bland presenter I've ever seen. But anyway,
what you're saying is that he's not interactive or entertaining.
No,
neither. No.
Oh my god, the worst.
So he's just the Sony part. He's missing the other two parts of the company now.
He's just Sony, yeah, and it's only because they're paying for his cats or something. I don't know. But they talked about they're going to have over 30 games at launch, what they said launch window. Of course, you never know what that time frame is. The big announcements were that Beat Saber, which you kind of expect would be coming considering its popularity, but I was glad to hear it confirmed because I love Beat Saber and I still play it multiple times per week. It's coming to PS. I love it, man. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Coming to PSVR 2, and they also announced virtual reality is coming to Gran Turismo 7 as a free update, which is also awesome, especially for someone like me. So I hope it's fully fleshed out. Of course, they didn't go into detail about what the mode presents, but I am excited about that. Perhaps most exciting was outside of CES itself, which is I've been kind of paying attention to some of the virtual reality sites, those sites and kind of outlets that focus on virtual reality and the headsets and everything. And they've been hugely impressed by Horizon Call of the Mountain. I've seen 2 separate people now say it's one of the most impressive virtual reality games they've ever played, and that it is extremely gorgeous as well. And that the eye tracking, PSVR 2 has eye tracking, is also hugely impressive. So sounds exciting. I know that, to your point, Travis, there doesn't seem to be a lot of hype, at least anecdotally, around PSVR 2. They said, I think they're making 2 million for launch, and obviously they're still promoting and trying to sell them, so they haven't pre-ordered 2 million units, right? Obviously. So we'll see how this thing goes. I know Hoeg was betting that this thing dies based on price and other factors, but I'm hopeful, and I will be there on day one, and I am actually covering some PSVR 2 coverage, including a review of Horizon Call of the Mountain for Season Gaming. So
nice.
We shall see. I'm hopeful.
I'm probably one of the only people on the IGN staff who has one of these things at launch. So I'm also going to try my hand at reviewing some stuff. It's been a while since I reviewed a VR game. Last time I threw up twice. We'll see what happens this time.
Really?
Nice.
Poorly optimized?
It was a PSVR 1 game, which if you've played
yeah.
PSVR 1, the frame rate just doesn't work. And it happened to be a game you have to spend a lot of time in, No Man's Sky. I reviewed for VR.
Oof.
And that game will give you a brain headache real fast, and brain headache equals violent vomiting. So the things we do for our craft.
Yeah, they did announce No Man's Sky, funny enough, for PSVR 2. So I hope it's more well optimized than what we got previously.
I mean, it would have to be. The PSVR 2 is. This is why I disagree with Hoeg on this and so many other things. The PSVR 2 is like exactly what PlayStation needs to do to not compete with the Quest is to do something high end. So I think it could work. Just depends.
No, that's exactly why I'm excited about it, right? Is that I've said from the start when we heard they were designing it, like, please go higher end. Like, it's okay if it costs more, please go higher end, because that's the experience people want. And I have to assume too that if you're playing PlayStation 5, and we're starting to see, sadly, as we've talked about before, everything on PlayStation is still kind of cross-gen. But as we start to get to the point 2 years post-launch where we see the games that are actually fully optimized for PS5 and Series X, that you kind of want to replicate that experience in VR, right? You don't want a PS5 experience like Ragnarok or Forbidden West and then go to your VR unit that's new in 2022 and it's running in 720p, right? You can't really do that. That's not going to work. So I'm excited. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll all come down to whether they can support it with good games
content. It's always going to be content. Yep, 100% agree. Guys, you are, as we're sitting here talking, all hell is breaking loose in our chat, which is just amazing. So big shout out to, sorry guys, it's hard to run with this. Midnight Dreary just gifted 5 channel memberships while we've been talking, which is hugely, sorry guys, my brain this morning. What's the word I'm looking for? Hugely big, nice.
Popping off.
It's very appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, hugely appreciated. Thank you very much, God. So, Midnight Jury, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Funny enough, one of those memberships went to a Craig Meyer, who I'm going to shout out, good friend of mine in real life, who I've known for a long time now. So that's awesome. And then while we've been talking, both Vault Boy and Iron Keg have also joined as channel members. Guys, thank you very much. Support. I sound like a broken record. I don't mean to, but just really appreciate it. So thank you.
Yes, that's awesome.
All right. Are either of you getting PSVR 2?
No.
Hell yeah. Pre-ordered. Let's go.
Okay. So me and Travis will, by the time Hoeg comes back, we'll have the left side of VR2 supporters and the right side is non-VR2 supporters, and we'll have that debate when the time comes. But all right. Okay, guys, let's get to 2023 because there are a ton of games to talk about, and how I structured this as we're going to talk through it. So we have confirmed release dates for some games through basically June. And then there's obviously a whole ton of games that we don't know when they're releasing, including a whole bunch of games that Xbox says are coming in the first half of the year, but we still don't have release dates for. So what I plan to do here is let's go month by month for the ones we have release dates for. We'll talk about those, and then we'll begin to talk about all the other games coming in the year that we don't have dates for yet. So in January, as of this moment, and of course, I can't cover every title. These are just the ones I pulled out. But in January, we get One Piece Odyssey on the 13th. We get Persona 3 and 4 coming to other consoles on the 19th. We get Fire Emblem Engage on the 20th. We get Monster Hunter Rise coming to Xbox, PS, PC on the 20th. We get Force... Why can't I say this game without laughing? We get Forspoken on the 24th, and supposedly, and we get Dead Space remake on the 28th, which for me, we'll stop it every month here, guys, but Dead Space is far and away miles ahead of everything else in terms of anticipation for me personally.
Well, when it comes to predicting which of these games aren't going to do well, I just want the record to state that I am not reviewing Forspoken. I will repeat. I'm not reviewing Forspoken. Stop asking me, Travis, this game's bad. Are you reviewing Forspoken?
It's gonna be a 10 out
I'm
of 10
not
game.
reviewing it. Okay, I don't review every bad game, just most of them, almost all of them, but not this one. So there you go.
Do you think this game gets delayed again?
No,
Really? Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think so because I know who's reviewing it. So I don't think it's going to get delayed. But I will make a prediction about Forspoken. I think it's going to be better than a lot of people think. I think the things that people are complaining about are going to be bad. I think the character is probably going to be criticized. I think the story is probably not going to be great. But I think people's expectations are so low, it's going to do better than people think. That's my prediction.
That's really what you want to hear as a developer. People have so low expectations for your game that it is going to outshine everything else released that month. Fantastic.
Yes.
I don't think and I think we all agree, right? Because when the demo came out, I've talked to, I mean, anecdotally as always, but I've talked to quite a few people who were like, wow, this isn't good. Like this is really bad. I never got to play it. Yeah, I've been kind of down on the game since I first saw it. It just seemed to be a game that didn't know what it wanted to be. And I guess we'll see, man. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
What are you guys hyped for in January? Any of these games?
Hitman 3 Freelancer is coming out, just so you guys know. In case you guys need to jump back into that game. Brand new mode, kind of roguelite-ish. So, all you roguelite fans out there.
Actually, I'm excited for this because you're not a roguelite guy.
Can't stand it.
But this is your favorite game. So I'm going to be very curious to see how this turns out for you.
This is
Which
oil
one?
and water. Hitman 3.
The new mode for Hitman 3 is coming out in January.
I'm looking at your list for January, and I'm like, well,
it's not on there. Dan, of course, just knew it was coming.
I was told to come up with stuff on my own that isn't on this list. So that is on there. Not on there.
There you go.
Fantastic news. Well, I'm excited for SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake, which is also coming out in January. You guys. No, I'm playing one or more of these games that I can't talk about. That's on your list here, Ains. But I'll play as many of these as I can. It's a strong start to the year.
It is a very strong start. Fire Emblem looks good. I love Monster Hunter. Still haven't played it because I refuse to play anything on my Switch. So probably get that.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a big game, right? I mean, Monster Hunter is a huge franchise as much as I joke about it. So it coming to the modern consoles is great with all the updates, of course. I think Dead Space is going to be huge. I am going to wear that helmet no matter how much you guys make fun of me for it. So I'll come prepared once that releases. But yeah, good start to the year.
Very good.
Quick couple shout outs here. Plague Injected also became a channel member. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And Mr. Mariano Pampa is here in 2023.
Of course, can't start the year without the $5 or $10 Pampa. To add to the Elden Ring amusement park ride, just make sure there's a room with a bunch of doors that don't open, and it says you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. I didn't even get that far.
So that's funny because I had completely forgotten about that. That's an inside joke for people who played Elden Ring pretty much right at launch. So you know how you can leave notes around the world, Dan, for people that play, right? There's little notes on the world that you can leave and you can type certain things, but you can't freeform it, right? There's a template you have to choose from of what you can select. And it became a running joke to basically put a message in front of places you couldn't get to. And it would just repeat, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. You don't have the right. And it became
a song.
Yeah, it was just like a meme that kind of went around and it spread all throughout the world as you were exploring.
Here's a question
it was quite funny
for you, Ains, as somebody who's played Elden Ring quite a lot. Do you have a melody for the song "You Don't Have the Right"? Oh, you don't have the right, because I have a melody.
I don't believe I do in my head,
one in your own brain.
More than anything, I want to hear yours.
Yeah, kind of do.
We'll save that for another day, sir. We'll save that for another day. But yeah, I've got one. Every time
that will be a channel member exclusive.
Yeah. Started jamming. Yeah.
Channel member exclusive. You don't have the right.
Bitcast listeners, submit your melodies to You Don't Have the Right. Oh, you don't have the right. Elden Ring hit. We're interested in hearing your submissions. Winner will get a date with Ains.
Yeah.
That's not worth it. Don't bother.
I know I'll be submitting.
All right, Pompa, thank you. Random name, new channel member. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right, let's get to February where the year starts to get crazy on us a bit. So in February, we get Deliver Us Mars on the 2nd, Hogwarts Legacy, huge release on the 10th, Wild Hearts, which is Capcom, if I'm remembering correctly, Capcom's answer to Monster Hunter, on the 17th. We get Atomic Heart on the 21st, Like a Dragon Ishin on the 21st, PSVR 2, and obviously all of its launch titles launch on the 22nd.
All of its launch titles? How many launch titles?
We don't know. Octopath Traveler 2 on the 24th, Scars Above on the 27th, and Destiny Lightfall on the 28th.
Which I can't believe.
Busy month, guys, especially when you consider... I don't know about you. For me, we talked about Hogwarts Legacy quite a bit. I'm really excited for that. And that game looks, I think, far bigger than many of us anticipated it was going to be initially. It looks huge. Wild Hearts looks interesting. I'm hopeful for Wild Hearts. I hope that it can kind of take the theme of Monster Hunter, but make it more enticing from a game perspective for me personally. Atomic Heart looks bonkers. I'm really excited to play that. That's coming to Game Pass day one, by the way. Like a Dragon Ishin, I know I'm excited for. I know Dan is. I know all of us are, and a lot of other people are. And then you get PSVR 2 that same basically day, a day later, and Destiny's big expansion the following week, which I know you and the millions of people who play Destiny are going to be into. So huge month there. You reviewing that one?
I am reviewing Destiny Lightfall, and your boy is scared. You can listen. You can listen to me talk about it last Thursday. But basically, high level devs at Bungie gave a talk where they were talking about how with games as a service, velocity is more important than quality, which is a philosophy that you can see if you play Destiny. You can see it in the product, and I don't. It's been such a short period of time since Witch Queen, and we've seen very little of Lightfall, and I'm just a little nervous about the quality there. But hey, I might just be too close to it. Maybe they have a trick up their sleeve that I'm not expecting. I'm always hoping that it'll do well, but scares me.
I know we talked about it prior to the holiday, and I kind of gave my outside perspective, which was this looks weird to me. It doesn't look to fit Destiny. It's not something. It looks like they're trying to chase a trend, which is never a good look, in my opinion. So I don't know. I hope the content's good, obviously, for the people who love Destiny like you and others, but it didn't do anything for me personally.
It's supposed to be the penultimate episode, and it's called Lightfall, and it's supposed to be about us losing to the darkness, and it looks like we're going to be having a light romp through the moon of Saturn and hanging out with Tron people. So I'm sort of confused by this game, and I haven't really seen enough to feel confident that it's going to be great. And the Witch Queen, I was pretty confident. I felt like going into it like there was a lot of hype. So I'm just a little concerned about this, but I'm also very close to it, and maybe that's affecting my perception. Either way, I'm going to be reviewing that, and I'll go into it with an open mind and a hopeful heart about that game, and we'll see what happens. But February is huge between Hogwarts,
February is ridiculous.
Dragon, Octopath. Like I could easily sink 100 hours into any of those games. It's gonna be crazy.
And by the way, I said Capcom for Wild Hearts, and it's just my mind this morning. Capcom is obviously Monster Hunter. Electronic Arts is Wild Hearts. So it's EA's answer to Capcom's game, being developed by Koei Tecmo, actually, and nice. Omega Force, which I think is support studio. So we'll see. Dan, I know you're all over Like a Dragon, right?
Sure. That's going to be, I hope people understand that this isn't going to be Like a Dragon, that just released.
Right. It's not Like a Dragon 2 from...
This is the Dragon engine from like Yakuza 5, probably updated on, I think they updated in Unreal 4 engine, so, which is
correct.
Great. So this is going to be more beat 'em up like the old style or Judgment, stuff. So yeah, I'm super pumped for it because I never got to play it, when it released back on like the Vita or whatever the hell it was.
Right.
It was like 2014 or 15. So
yeah, it's almost like I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like 10 years old, but
It's old, man. This is like Yakuza 5 days. So
and as I've said many times, like I really love Like a Dragon, loved it to death, but I haven't been able to get into the older Yakuza games where they're what do you call it? Not turn-based. So we'll see. I'm buying this one, and I hope that
100%.
hope I like it.
Yep.
By the way, I know you don't collect these normally, Dan, but I have to shout out that there are exclusive steel books for this that look really cool.
I saw it.
So
they got it backwards, man. In my opinion, I think I said that to you. They should have had, they should have reversed them. Like they've got like everybody on like the front cover of the steel book that I saw. When they have you open it up, it's like the Kiryu, holding the gun and the sword kind of silhouette kind of thing. Yeah, that should be on the front, 100%, because that looks so much better. But with that being said, it still looks badass. So
yeah,
between that and Hogwarts Legacy, I mean, I wish that's only like 11 days now, man. It's gonna be a long time to go through Hogwarts for me because I'm super pumped for that one too. I mean, it's crazy to me. Like in the end of February, I'm just looking at these games that I'm gonna be playing, and it's already more than I actually played last year. I mean, it's insane how much different this year is looking. Assuming everything lands like it's supposed to, it's crazy how much different this is gonna hit for me personally because I don't really play a lot of these indie games and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I'm sure some of the games we talk about today, the release dates will shift. I mean, that's to be expected, for sure. Right? But we'll see. So big month already, and then the year really doesn't slow down for the most part. So March is another big year. So March we get the day before, which if you forget what that is, I know IGN has a good preview of that up. It's kind of like a Division 2 looking game where all hell breaks loose basically in the city and post-apocalyptic type thing. But it looks really interesting. The third brings us Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which looks fantastic. I can't wait to play that. Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. So the latest Fatal Frame game, is coming to all platforms on the 9th. Skull and Bones, if you remember that, Ubisoft. I don't know the word to use here, but we'll see how that one lands. That's coming on the 9th if they don't shift it again. We get Bayonetta Origins on the 17th. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I know millions of people pumped about on the 17th. And then we get Resident Evil 4 Remake on the 24th. So again, March is coming out swinging.
Yeah. So I've played Wolong Fallen Dynasty a few times for IGN with different previews. And that game I'm convinced is going to be great. The team that's working on it has been making ridiculously quick changes based on community feedback and stuff, so I think that's gonna be great. And then one of the games on this list I am currently playing, and I don't think I can talk about it, but you will have my thoughts on that one before it drops in March. So
okay. How excited are you guys for Jedi Survivor?
Very.
Yeah, same.
Very. Yeah. I mean, the first one's a great game that how every once in a while you play a game and you're like, God, I hope they don't make a sequel. It was such a good game and I don't want them to mess it up. Fallen Order was one of those games where right when I beat it, I was like, God, I hope they make a sequel because it could be even better. Like it was obvious the areas that it could improve, right? And so I've been wanting to. I've been very eager to see what a sequel to that game looks like, and I'm really hopeful. I'm hopeful that they improve in all the areas that they needed to improve after the first game, and if it ends up just being the same game again with different levels, I'll probably be disappointed. But there's a huge opportunity for this to become, I think, like a very like a big approachable leader within the Souls-like space. I'm it could be the gateway drug, Ames, for getting people.
Yeah, I mean it's using the IP, right? You use the Star Wars IP to get people into that kind of thought process of the game. I know we've all joked about it many times. Just give me a better map, for God's sakes. It can't be worse, right? So give a real map and some better level design, and you add a few additional things here and there. I think it's going to be great. So really pumped about that one.
I'm really excited.
Resident Evil 4 Remake is probably that, and Wolong probably my most anticipated games of that month, just because I love survival horror. RE4 is actually one of my gaming gaps. I never finished the original.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's considered by many to be like the pinnacle. You know, some people have RE4 as their favorite game of all time.
Wow.
I'm not that, you know, I don't know. We'll see, but I'm really, really excited about RE4 remake. So
yeah, that's one of my favorite Resident Evil games, aside from Resident Evil 6, obviously.
6, yeah, I mean 6 is. I'm really interested to see how Skull and Bones does once it releases. The day before, we'll see if that releases on March 1st. I don't know. I can see that one shifted. We'll see. We're starting to get down to where, you know, confirmed release dates become thinner. So in April right now, all we have is Hogwarts Legacy is coming out for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So last gen on April 4th. But the big one that's announced right now for April is Dead Island 2. 10 years later, the game is finally coming. Funny enough, I did a preview video of Dead Island 2. I put up, I think, beginning of this week or late last week. It's funny enough, as many jokes about it and how many developers it's changed hands. It's shaping up to look like a really, really good time. So I'm actually quite excited about it as I dove into the details and learned more about it. And what you guys might be, what many people may be surprised to learn about Dead Island 2 that I don't think has shown too heavily, is that it takes all the kind of funniness and goofiness of the original Dead Island, not Dying Light, Dead Island, right? Where it's kind of more lighthearted and goofy. And it has this crazy zombie system where you can like mutilate and splatter and all this crazy stuff, right, to zombies. But your upgrade system for your character is card-based. So you will unlock cards, find cards, upgrade cards, and then you can respec with those cards anytime you want. So it doesn't lock you into a play style. You can shift them around as you see fit. So it just sounds really interesting. I think it's going to be a good time. If that launches well polished, I think it's going to surprise some people.
You hear that, Dan? Your favorite mechanic, cards.
Still not my favorite mechanic.
Your game of the year mechanic.
No.
Yeah.
Card based.
Yeah. Mechanic of the year, you may say, the MO.
Yes.
MOTY, the Modi.
If your favorite game in a year is a card-based mechanic fighter, then maybe you like card-based games.
Yeah, and maybe it's just a fluke.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe you should expand your horizons.
No.
Open your mind.
Yeah. You know what I'll be playing in April? The Horizon Forbidden West DLC. That's what's going to be happening. Yeah, it will be.
No.
It's already ready to go. I'm ready to go right now.
You won't have
I totally forgot to put. I totally forgot that Burning Shores. By the way, I did forget to put that on the list. I apologize about that. That's part of why I'm hoping to get through Forbidden West here in the next month or so, is so that I can, you know, then enjoy Burning Shores properly.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep. It's gonna happen.
So.
MOTY. Get out of here with that garbage.
MOTY. Mechanic of the
year, bro. Card-based gameplay. Card.
And then May brings us what we know so far is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, you know, going to be a gigantic release on May 12th. And then Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Rocksteady's game, finally releasing on May 26th.
Probably.
Yeah. You know, they let loose that Kevin Conroy has a cameo, at least as Batman, in that game. And we know Rocksteady makes a damn good game. So let's hope that the wait has been worth it for this one. I got to tell you guys, I'm not a big comic game guy, but I am more excited for this one probably than any other. I think the one little trailer we saw of what is possible in that game really interested me. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's Rocksteady, right? So they know how to make a game.
They make good games.
Know how to work. They know how to work with existing IP, make licensed games. I'm very excited for that game.
All the pieces are there, right? All the pieces.
Rocksteady is the key.
Even though, honestly, Suicide Squad, like even when it was a comic, I was like, eh. And then they made a movie about it, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch that. It looks bad. And then I hear it was. Yeah. I think this game's gonna be really good because I have so much faith in Rocksteady. So even though I'm not a huge fan of Suicide Squad, I'm actually stoked for that game. So we'll see.
I'm with you, man. It looks good. Here's a question for you guys. Going forward, we're getting into the new gen now a little bit harder. How often, like some of these games, are we going to see the Plague Tale Requiem / Arkham Knight 30 FPS cap? All right.
Lot. I assume that the next big one is like I just assume that it's going to hound the game as Starfield, right? Like that game's going to run at 30
No
FPS.
way.
It just will, because the type of game it is, the type of game
You
that
just
Todd
broke Dan's heart. Look at his face.
What? That's not Starfield.
But
What?
the type of game that Todd Howard makes are not optimized for frame rates. Maybe when they do the remaster, or whatever, and you have to play it on a 5090 or whatever. But I just think it's going to be 30 FPS capped. I think people are going to hound the game about it, and I don't think it's going to matter at all. Like 30 FPS, it's better usually, but it doesn't make or break a game. And I think people just this is the year of getting over frame rates as a requirement for you to play a game. There are so many great games that don't run at the frame rate that you think is best, and so just shut up. Just shut up. Stop being the worst.
$1,000 for these 2 new consoles so they can run at shit that was running last gen.
But they're not gonna run Starfield at all, Dan.
Oh well, at least they got rats. We'll have the RPS.
You say that as a dig, but it's really not a dig.
It's not great. Like I can care less about that. That's the problem. I wanted an upgraded experience. Like, why would you upgrade a PC to, a 5090, like you said, that doesn't actually exist. But it's
yeah.
That's what I gotta do now. I just upgraded to the 4070 just so I can get my frames and my resolution. And now I got to upgrade to this next one because now the devs are doing. It just drives me crazy. Like, don't show me like this beautiful steak, right? And then just be like, yeah, but here's a sirloin from now on. It just drives me crazy. It drives me.
You realize you guys are arguing about something that's not even confirmed yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I generally agree with Travis. Generally agree with Travis. No. Back up. I agree that I could see Starfield launching at 30 FPS. Will I like it? No, but I could see that happening.
Here's the thing, though. Like, the complaint is completely invalid because
it's not.
It is. Because the reason you upgraded to a new console is so that you could play experiences that are more ambitious. More ambitious does not always mean 60 FPS, and if that's
but it does sometimes.
It does sometimes, but if that's all you're asking for in your games, you lack the imagination to be judging these things. That's all I have to say.
So you're saying I'm a simpleton, which is fine. They can't even pull that off, apparently.
No, I'm just saying you're not a game developer, because when people look at better specs, right? Like, why would I play on the Series X as opposed to the Xbox One? Their answer for a developer might be more rats. And that doesn't mean that more rats is bad. It just means that the thing that they wanted to do couldn't exist on the console that had previously. And Starfield might be so big, just based on everything we know about it, that it couldn't run on an Xbox One. And so the reason you paid $1,000 is so you could play Starfield at all. The fact that you're not playing it in 60 FPS is maybe unfortunate, right? Obviously, you care about that thing. But this idea, this prevailing philosophy that if it's not 60 FPS, it's not next gen, and that it's a valueless game, is just silly. And I think there are certain games you should absolutely expect run at 60 FPS. Gotham Knights, you should be pissed it doesn't run at 60 FPS.
That's what I mean.
Because you can look at that game and go, okay, this should be 60 FPS. This is an optimization problem. But I don't think every game has that problem. I don't think you can look at a Plague Tale Requiem and go, this should run at 60 FPS. I'm surprised it runs at 30, honestly, on the Xbox Series X or the PS5. So buy your 5090 if you want to run Starfield at 60 FPS, but I don't think it's going to be that way on the consoles you own. That's all I'm saying.
No, I know that. Yeah.
I know. It's funny because you guys stand on opposite sides. We've had this discussion before, and I know Travis has been very clear that FPS should not impact your enjoyment of a game necessarily, and Dan is the complete opposite. And the funny thing is, I stand in the middle. It's like, I get what both of you are saying, and I completely agree, Travis, that the scope of what Starfield is attempting to be is so grand that if we can play it and its fidelity is high and it runs well and everything, that 30 FPS should not be a limiter of your enjoyment of that game on a Series X. However, I also agree with Dan that I do think I don't think, Travis, you should say to people the reason you upgraded your consoles is because that reason can be different for other people. And I think Dan's expectation is that with the PS5 and Series X, that a minimum should be a 60 FPS entry, no matter what the game is. Whether that's right or wrong can be debated all day, but
it's wrong.
I mean, we were just
wrong.
talking about Forbidden West being open world and having. Now, I'm not comparing the scope of Starfield to Forbidden West. I'm just saying it's an open world, very large game, and the performance mode on that runs brilliantly. So
now,
I mean.
But still, I mean,
but when it came out,
only a few months after launch.
When it came out, everybody was playing on the quality mode because the performance mode ran terribly. Yeah, we talked about this on this show. Hoeg and I were like, let's play on quality or on performance mode, and then performance mode was really bad, and so we switched back to.
It didn't look. I'll say this: the performance mode didn't look good. It didn't look good at launch. I still played on it though.
Yeah, the frames were steady. It just didn't look optimized. Like the resolution was not good
and so quality mode was the preferred mode for a lot of people. I'm usually a quality guy, but I'm usually a performance guy, but I went to quality because that game didn't run super well. And you know, the thing about Forbidden West is I don't think it's a particularly good example because it's not particularly ambitious as a game. It does a lot of the stuff we've already seen in games that there's a lot of technology behind. It doesn't push the limits on console hardware, I don't think.
No, I didn't say it did. I'm just saying that.
And so games like that, sure, expect 60 FPS for those. You can expect whatever you want. I'm just saying that this idea that a developer, a creative person who makes art should have to fit in this box of requirements in order for it to count. You know, and for order for it to be part of the lexicon is crazy.
Oh no, I don't care about
crazy.
That.
No. I don't think we're saying that.
But that's what you're essentially saying when people say it should be a requirement. It's like, okay, but it's art. Not all art fits in the box you want it to fit in. You can't put a requirement on the things that creatives are making. And some of them want to make stuff that can't render 60 FPS on an Xbox.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And so some of those games fine if it couldn't run, but there's some games that have no excuse and you should call them out. I'm great at calling out games.
I'm gonna be eating a Cracker Barrel.
Sure. Eat a Cracker Barrel.
That's what's gonna happen.
There's we've got the poll up. So funny enough, it's nearly split as of this moment. So we asked the audience, and please vote if you haven't. Starfield's 30 FPS will impact your enjoyment of it. Yes, 45%, no, 55%. So right now it's pretty close 50-50. We'll see.
Oh, it's 100%. I won't play it. I will refuse to play Starfield if it runs at freaking 30 FPS.
I don't believe you.
Mark my words, because I love Fallout, and I played that at 30 FPS. I love Skyrim, played that at 30
then
FPS.
Why does it matter? What do you care about?
Because now I've had the taste of the forbidden fruit that is 60 FPS. And now I cannot go back. Listen, you can sit there and eat your sirloin steak. I'm going to be sitting here with my ribeye and enjoying the hell out of it. You know, maybe.
You're going to be going hungry. You're going to be going hungry because
I will be.
Because it didn't have the seasoning. It wasn't my very favorite thing, and so I'll just not eat.
I'm paying for it. Why the hell would I care if somebody else put like the garbage seasoning on it? I want the good seasoning. If I'm going to pay you the money, I get what I want.
This is why companies shouldn't listen to consumers. The customer's always right is such a terrible idea because they're never right. They don't know what they're talking about.
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I know what I like, and I'm not going to pay for trash.
So you guys are. I'm going to have to create a new versus. You realize that kind of goes like center right of the screen between top and bottom here.
Yeah, this is what happens when Hoeg's not here. Is I'm starved for an argument with anyone. Who wants to fight me? Who? Dan? Ames? I'll fight you. Commenter?
I don't know. The funny thing about these kind of debates that we have on this show is, one, I think they're excellent because I think we have a good representation of the gaming community at large, right? Like there's both sides of this debate. The second thing is I don't know how I usually fall in the middle of them. I don't know how that happens. I usually see both sides somehow, but what about
I just think one side is stupid. Is that I mean, I can see both. I see Dan's point. I just think he's not thinking it all the way through. That's all. Yeah.
Listen, I just want value for my money. And my value is going to be different from your value. My value is 60 frames. Yours is 30. It can do more rats. That's fine. And that's you. You know, I have no problem with that. I am not going to play a game that runs at 30 FPS when I think I paid the money to have that better experience, but I understand better is also very subjective. So, in my opinion, better is frame rate, right?
I don't think you know what you want, like a lot of consumers.
Oh,
You
100%.
think they want
I
something.
play less games than everybody else. You know what I've been playing? Like Lost Judgment, stuff like that I don't like. I've played 100 times. I played like 3 or 4 new games this year, including God of War and Horizon Forbidden West. And then after that, it was like Midnight Suns, and there might have been like 2 more new games that came out last year. But for the most part, I spent my year playing old stuff. Witcher 3.
Yeah. Look, if you want to play Starfield at 60 FPS, you surely will be able to do so on a PC.
Yes,
what I'm talking about now is I'm talking about console people trying to put limiters on the visions of game devs that don't make sense. The Xbox and PlayStation are not hugely powerful machines that can just do anything, and I think a lot of times vision outweighs technology, hardware.
So here's my issue with that statement. And I'll do my best to be a Hoeg here. I can't, but I'll do my best. The issue I have with that statement around if you want to do that, you can do it on a PC is kind of a misnomer. And this is not you, Travis. This is just the general gaming community. If you want this, get a PC. The fact is, the vast majority of PCs that people play games with today are less powerful than a PS5 and Series X.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So right away, it's not played on PC. It's played on an optimized PC that is capable of running it at 60. And I guess my argument back to that would be, because there's been quite a few people that have commented here in the chat about it, is there seems to be, I would say, more than majority agreement that people just want the option to play, even if you have to reduce the graphics down, the resolution down, the effects down, everything. They want to play it at 60 on console or whatever the higher frame rate is, right? If they're going to develop that for PC, why can they not at least give that option for Series X, right? Like you're going to have a PC that's probably equivalent to a Series X that has the option of playing at a higher frame rate and turning all the effects down. Why do you not open that option to players on a Series X? I guess is my counter.
And that is 100% a valid argument. So a few things. One, I want to say I agree with you on the PC argument. When people say just play it on a PC, they're basically being like, oh yeah, just buy $4,000 worth of hardware.
Exactly.
Fine.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous argument. But my point is, for people who are that's a deal breaker, I don't know why you're playing on console, because it's like it's just not a realistic expectation. $500 doesn't get you 60 FPS on. Build a PC and try to build a PC for $500 that does 60 FPS on every game. It's not going to happen. So that's just my point. Is you've got a champagne taste in a soda pop wallet if you are expecting 60 FPS and you're not building a PC, and that's unfortunate. I'll also say yes, there are absolutely situations where it's about not giving options to consumers. Some of it is done for what I would consider dumb reasons, like PR, like they don't want their game to be shown in 1080p because it looks like trash, and so they just don't include the option, to do it, because they don't want screenshots and YouTubers of people playing on 1080p and going, look at this game, it looks terrible.
Also fair. Even Evil West got slammed for being 1080p.
Exactly. And so they don't want that footage to be available, and so it's just like, don't show my game in 1080p, it looks bad. So that's part of it, right? And the other part of it is that sometimes it's a creative process as well as technical. So sometimes you want the game to do certain things. For example, the example I keep going back to is Plague Tale Requiem, which had a performance mode and a quality mode, but the performance mode still didn't run 60 FPS. It ran like 45. It was 40 or something like that. It was as good as they could get it. And so I'm all for giving options to console players and kind of taking off the hood, of the walled garden that consoles usually have. It just isn't realistic to expect for $500 you'll be able to get 60 FPS on every single game. It just isn't. There's a hardware reality. Some games have more ambition, more stuff in it. They can't do it. And the argument that you should go and buy a PC is a ridiculous one, because it's a $3,000, $4,000 investment. But if that's what you want, if that's what you're doing it, that's the way to do it. And there's no Xbox Series Y that you can buy for $800 that'll get
there
you
should be.
So.
There will be.
There will be eventually.
I really wish that's a whole nother argument, but man, give me the plug and play console Xbox experience at a PC 4090 level. Please. I don't care who has to do it. Just give it to me.
I'm there.
I'll pay for it.
I would pay for a high-end console. I just don't know. I think they think there's probably not a market for it. There's barely a market for the Series X, right? You know, it's just it's a lot of money.
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, the console gamers they're not used to that price point, obviously. So
no, but I think that's an outdated argument. We've talked about that before. We don't have to stay on that. Anyway,
but I mean, if
Jesus.
they sold a $1,200 Xbox, how many people do you think would buy it if supply wasn't an issue?
Well, great. I mean, the investment by Microsoft to create and develop R&D a $1,200 Xbox would not be beneficial for them. There's no ROI on that, is what you're saying, which I agree with. I agree.
And it would start to be out of date like almost immediately as well, which is like one of the advantages of PC is that you can swap out your parts, right? And so nobody's going to buy a $1,200 console that's only going to last 5 years. It's just so.
I know.
Yeah.
By the way, 135 people with us live at the moment. Please hit that like button if you're enjoying the conversation. Appreciate you. Let's get a couple super chats before we talk about a whole lot of games that we haven't gotten to yet. So these have been sitting for a little bit. Don Lionheart back in the house.
$5 super chat. Hi, friends. Happy New Year. Have you guys considered doing a fantasy critic league? I think it would be fun. Prayers and love for Hoeg and his family. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don. That is actually a good idea. I did talk to Mr. Badbit. So what that is basically think of fantasy football, right? But the four of us with Hoeg would pick. You basically rotate and you pick games that are going to release in 2023, and you're aiming for the games that you believe will get the highest Metacritic score. And then you add up the score like points basically at the end of the year to see who wins.
So here's a question about that game, though. Here's a question about that. Isn't it a conflict of interest if I can impact the outcome of the Metacritic score?
Yeah. But I think that's kind of funny, right?
You could do your pick list to be like, oh, Dan has this on his list, so I'm going to rake it lower so that I can dip his.
But that just means we have even more incentive to do it because of the fireworks that could be involved. Because a big game comes out, it gets like an 80 meta, and you give it a 2 on IGN. That would be beautiful. I would love to see that.
I give it a 2 just to spite your pick list. You know, I just if I rank it a 2, it'll be low enough that he won't get the points on the little game we're playing. It sounds like a conflict of interest to me. That's what it sounds like. And
a fun one though, but a fun one.
If you think I'm not above giving a good game a bad score just to hit Hoeg where it hurts, you don't know me at all.
Down.
Joking, of course. I'm a man of integrity.
Don Liner with another super chat, $2 a sign. Some people like Resident Evil 6 more than 8. Hashtag shrimp fried rice.
I don't think it's some people. I think it's one person.
Yeah.
I think it probably is.
It's basically
Know the warning signs.
Thank you, Don. Good to see you back, man. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Gecko's back in the house.
Yeah, he's got back-to-back ones here. Interesting. No Man's Sky runs on 60 FPS. So
but
these
it's
are older games. Obviously, I understand that.
Older games.
Well, and it's a lot less. It's a very different kind of graphical engine than say something like Starfield, right?
Yeah. Have you been to one of the planets in No Man's Sky? It's pretty barren. So. We're at 60 FPS.
Yep. And we'll have followed that up, by the way.
The only true FPS has 60 FPS. Otherwise, it is a sparkling shooter viewed from your head. All right.
The only true FPS has 60 FPS. Otherwise, it's a sparkling shooter viewed from your head. I think he means flashy, but I don't know what you mean by the first part of that statement, Gecko.
Lay off the crack would be my advice for that comment. I'm just kidding.
Gecko, don't super chat again. Just put it in the chat because I don't know what you mean by that. I'm happy to discuss it, but I genuinely don't know what you mean by that one.
We'll give you a chance to clarify yourself for 7.
I will agree with this first part. The true FPS is 60 FPS. Yes.
There you go.
That doesn't
Dan translate it.
Have you played 120 FPS?
No, because if I see 120, everything else is going to be even more shit. So I'm staying away from that. It's like, okay, I'm going to go see, I'm going to, again, go back to food. I'm not going to go over to this, amazing restaurants like this steak is like so good. You have to try it. It's the same price as the other one. and then I'll be like, oh, I can't go back to the other one. but you can only get the steak like once every 2 months. You know, it's so limited. So no.
The funny thing is, Halo supports 60 and 120, and I play multiplayer in 120 only, because once you get used to 120 in competitive multiplayer, you can't go back.
Right,
but then I play the campaign in 60. So because it looks better.
I've got to hit Dan where he lives, using the food metaphor, and just say you can enjoy a 5-star restaurant and then still go to like a cheap hot dog vendor on the street and have a damn good time. And so I think you can do both. I think you can enjoy the high life, and you can enjoy a very good game that has lower frame rate. They're both good. They're both good, guys. I'm not against big frames. I'm just saying the expectation that the requirement, it's not a good game if it doesn't 60 FPS, is of course a ridiculous one.
You're assuming I care about the chefs and their artistic integrity, though. I do not. I just want good food. I want the end product.
but if the food is good, except it runs at 30 FPS, then you're just being pedantic and petty by saying, "Oh, it's not good." It's not good.
No.
You guys think I should just go ahead and mute both of them at this point? Because that's about where I'm going to go. So, moving on to June. June has only 3 releases scheduled right now, but they're 3 huge releases. So Street Fighter 6 on June 2nd, Diablo 4, pimping the Lila sweater. Diablo 4 on June 6th, which also, funny enough, for our Ultimate Edition releases on June 2nd, the same day as Street Fighter 6. And then Final Fantasy 16 on June 22nd. So, those are, Diablo 4 is my most anticipated game of the year. You may not see me that Bitcast on that Sunday.
Anticipating?
What do you mean by that?
It's your most anticipated. What are you anticipating? Tell me.
Dan, what's he talking about?
What are you anticipating? If it's most anticipated, what are you anticipating?
What about it am I anticipating?
Yeah, what's your anticipation?
So weird.
That it's going to be good.
I could talk about Diablo 4 all day, so I don't want to do that. But yeah, I've said before, I've played Diablo since the first one when I was a teenager on, I think, the first PC I built. I played that just endlessly. Diablo 2, Diablo 3. Diablo 3, I have several hundred hours in, multiple builds, characters, seasons, etc. Diablo 4 being even bigger. Obviously, I'm kind of a loot whore when it comes to those types of games. You have 6 characters at launch, and you can do different builds with them. You've got co-op. You've got the open world elements. It's just, this game's going to take over my life, bar none. This will be my destiny, pretty much, but better.
What the hell is Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy 16.
Oh, it's 16. Yeah. Okay, yeah. There's so many.
Yeah.
There's
so many.
Final
Yeah.
Fantasy 16.
16.
The Final Fantasy series is going to their junior prom this year. 16 games.
Yep.
Sweet
right.
16.
Yeah. By the way, huge shout out to my brother Sarko in the chat. He also gifted 5 channel memberships. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate you.
I met that guy, and you haven't.
Very nice. This is true. I've known Sarko for, I think last we checked, over a decade. Yeah, it has to be over 10 years now. And you met him before I did in person.
I met him immediately. Crazy. Gave him a hug. Hung out with him in a hotel room.
Whoa.
Played Destiny
okay,
together.
all right. Channel. You have to be a channel member to hear more.
Yeah. You want the details? Subscribe to me on OnlyFans. You'll hear about what I did to Sarko at GCX.
Yeah, Sark's always got to be 15 years. It's been a long time. Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting on the year, guys. So the first half, remember Xbox's showcase this past summer, right? Everything was coming out in the next 12 months. Everyone's talked about this. So if these hold, which we know they all want, just bear with us. If these hold and they do release by June, right? Here's the other games, at least, that we know are going to be releasing. And that's where Starfield comes into play, Redfall comes into play, and Forza Motorsport comes into play, along with Hollow Knight Silksong, Minecraft Legends, Flintlock Siege of Dawn. Pay attention to that one. I think that could be a AA banger. The Last Case of Benedict Fox, and Ravenlock, which is the new game from the developers of Echo Generation, which was kind of a beloved indie game that came out a couple years ago. So all of these games, and we kind of talked about Starfield already, but all of these games should be releasing by June if things hold. And as we saw last week, Bethesda kind of doubled down, at least on their page for Starfield, that it is releasing in the first half of the year. So
and Redfall, which they put out
and Redfall, yes,
Yeah, cool.
Yep. Yeah, Redfall's gotten some more recent previews. I did a video on Redfall a few months ago, and I'm glad that they're starting to talk more about what Redfall really is, because I think a lot of people, I think we know a lot of people had misconceptions about what Redfall is.
100%.
Yeah. And they're talking about it being a huge, open world, which we already knew. They actually said that in their first presentation, that it was a big open island that you can visit. You can play it single player. It's the full Arcane experience. Redfall, one of my most anticipated games of the year for sure.
Yeah,
Want to be a vampire hunter?
Yeah.
Learn to wield a stake. Yes.
I wasn't
great,
excited for Starfield until this conversation.
Oh my god! Oh my
god!
God!
It's dead. It's dead to me. It's dead. No, I'm just joking. I'm still excited for it potentially.
Well, here I'll help you a little bit. So, there's a lot of rumors swirling in the Xbox community right now. A lot of back chatter happening, and there's some things will be true, some won't, etc. But the early read on Starfield, because the game is in people's hands already, at least the build of it as it stands today. The early read on it is that it is surpassing all expectations. That it is very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, that's from the Xbox community. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Anyway, Redfall. Now that I've got some more information, looks like it might be my number one on this list, because all that stuff. I mean, I didn't know any of that. The new stuff that they really. I mean, I was just always like a co-op. It was really strange brigade to me at first. You know what I mean? Like, and this looks much better. I love Arcane. Love all their games.
Yeah.
So this one, that always kind of held me right there. And then Forza, of course, I'm going to be playing that. Everything else, yeah. But
on that list, my most anticipated game is Hollow Knight Silk Song.
That's a good one.
I don't think you're alone. I think there's a lot of people.
I can tell you exactly what I'm anticipating. I'm anticipating that it will evolve that genre of hardcore side-scroll platforming beyond what Hollow Knight 1 did, and will tell a great story in the process, maybe make you cry, who knows, like an Ori and the Blind Forest type of deal. And I'm damn excited for that game. It looks great.
A lot of people are, man.
Oh yeah, it's going to be huge. It'll be, I mean, it's hard to say this right now, but it feels like it's going to be the biggest, what you would normally classify as indie game of the year, bar none. Do you think it will be in the game of the year conversation?
Yes,
I think it will be.
If Mitch is still working at IGN this December, you can bet Saltzman's going to be pimping that game out, and I may join him. Who knows? I mean, at this point in time, that's pretty high up there. That's pretty damn high up there, and I'm open to being surprised, but very excited about that game.
See, Hollow Knight for me was one of those. It's like everybody was playing. I was like, I got to try this out, and I'm disappointed in myself that I'm not.
Doesn't seem like your type of game at all.
No, but I probably played through like a third of it, and I was like, this is so good, but I'm so bad at this, and it bothers me. Like this is one of those games that I actually enjoyed, but I couldn't finish because I suck. This is the getting older, starting to get shaky hands kind of problems. I
know that feeling, man.
That's
the worst.
The worst. But yeah, I'm going to try it out anyway, because maybe it'll be, maybe I can handle this one.
Also, I know that we just glossed over the new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, but
yes,
we did state that there's lots of people excited for that. I am one of them. I know some people in this group aren't the fans of Breath of the Wild.
You don't have to keep calling Dan out, man. Jeez.
I know.
Shut up.
But I'm excited for that game, and lots of people are excited for that game, and I think it's going to be good.
Believe it or not, I am actually excited for that game, because My complaints about Breath of the Wild are pretty. I don't think I'm alone, right, in my complaints about Breath of the Wild. I think the open world was kind of bland. I think that the kind of upgrade system with the weapons and stuff was and breaking. I know that's been covered in nauseum, but that didn't do it for me. I think that the shrines were too repetitive, and I think that that's the feedback they've heard for years, right? And I'm pretty confident that they will take the foundation of Breath of the Wild and the open world Zelda experience and build upon it and expand upon it. And I think that Tears of the Kingdom could be really good. That's what I'm hoping.
I think as long as they put traditional dungeons in that open world, where you get a break from the open world to like do full dungeons, that I will be, because that, I really liked Breath of the Wild, but there was part of me that was like, these dungeons they're not really dungeons. They're kind of just like little mini puzzles, and then you go do a boss fight. But I would love it if they just threw those full, big, meaty dungeons right on top of the open world kind of format. I'm okay with weapon breaking. I kind of think you need it in that world. You have to have a reason to switch weapons and try new things. Otherwise, you'll just find the thing that works and use it forever. You'll just use, the Master Sword until the cows come home. So I think that's kind of necessary in that world. And there's lots of games.
Master Sword doesn't break, by the way.
Doesn't it break eventually? It lasts a really long time. Oh, there you go. I guess you get a weapon that doesn't break. But lots of games do that. Like Dying Light 2 did that, and I thought it worked in that game as well. It kind of forces you to mix things up and always be improving. But maybe they can make it last a little longer. Doesn't need to last that short, I think.
Last that short.
Yeah. It was just you get like 4 swings on some of those weapons, and I was like, that seems a little harsh. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I don't even mind the breaking. It's just that it was completely ridiculous. Like you had to look at the meter every time you hit something. Yeah. We'll see. I'm hopeful. We also glossed over Final Fantasy 16, with which, whether we like it or not, I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. But that game's going to be it's going to be a monster for the year.
We're missing Hoeg. He would diatribe about this game. We'd be here until 11:30 hearing about Final Fantasy 16.
There'd be like at least 5 or 6 words in that diatribe that you didn't understand, and you probably need to spoil for it because he's so well spoken. But I could never do that justice, so I'm not going to try. But I will just say, not my fan of Final Fantasy.
What is your Final Fantasy?
I mean, not for me. I
want to know all about Dan's fantasies. Tell me.
What is my Final Fantasy?
Is it feet?
4, 6, and 9. 4, 6, and 9.
Yeah. No. We should stop there because if we're gonna go past the feet part thing
again. I'm glad we weren't live with our conversation prior to going live because we'd be banned.
we have a whole different kind of audience.
All right. So the funniest part is, guys, and I haven't even mentioned about Forza, which I've said before is one of that's top 3 for me this year. Pay attention to Flintlock Siege of Dawn. I really do think that's going to be a fun game. But there's a ton of games. I listed out some of them here that are also releasing this year that don't currently have dates. So here's at least a short list of some of the other ones coming this year. I also want to mention Stalker 2. So Stalker 2 was that game as part of Xbox's conference. Beast called it out in the chat. That was supposed to be part of this early release. But obviously with what's going on with the development of Stalker 2, Ukraine, Russia, who knows where that stands. So, I think obviously no one's going to object to them if that game takes a little longer. But all these other games are supposedly and or tentatively 2023. I'm going to run down this list, guys, and we can talk about ones you want to. Alan Wake 2.
Do we interrupt you or wait to get to the end?
Wait till I get to the end.
Okay.
So Alan Wake 2, Ark 2, Ark Raiders, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Baldur's Gate 3, Black Myth Wukong, you remember that one? Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord, which is a VR title, Hades 2, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Layers of Fears, Lies of P, which I'm pumped for. Obviously, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, probably the biggest game out of PlayStation this year. Metal Slug Tactics, Oxenfree 2, Dan's Game of the Year. PGA Tour, Pikmin 4 is coming to the Switch. Remnant 2, Replaced, another Xbox game that we've been waiting a long time for. RoboCop, Stalker 2, which I just mentioned. The remasters of Suikoden 1 and 2, which I'll shout out for Hoeg, of course. The System Shock remake. the Telltale Expanse game, Lords of the Fallen, the Plucky Squire, which was that crazy looking game that was shown at the PlayStation State of Play, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Wolf Among Us 2, highly anticipated, Warhammer 40K Dark Tide for consoles, Witchfire, which was just shown by NVIDIA last week again, WrestleQuest, which looks hilarious, Ys 9 Monstrum Nox, which is the latest in the Ys series, and there's obviously a lot more I didn't cover. So, again, between what we've talked about, what we have release dates for, and all these other games already announced, 2023 is shaping up to be absolutely ridiculous. So, Hades 2, you think it comes out this year, Travis? Because I know that's one of your biggest.
I think that game comes out this year.
Okay.
Because we've seen a lot of it. I know we only got one trailer, but we sort of know what that game is probably going to entail, and it looks like a finished game. Like even when they unveiled it, I was just like, yeah, this looks like they're ready to go. You know, they're probably still hammering out.
Doesn't look super demanding. I feel like a 60 FPS is coming on that one. So
definitely.
Good job.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, of course. But I mean, the first Hades was.
Well, the first Hades was obviously Game of the Year in many, many circles. So when you think about this year, right, think about all the games we just mentioned. You have Starfield, you have Spider-Man 2, you have Tears of the Kingdom. Those are being looked at as like the three big pillars between PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, right? But then you have Silksong, you have Hades 2, you have Hogwarts Legacy's out there. You have, I'm trying to look through real quick the giant games I forgot. You have Star Wars Jedi Survivor. You have Resident Evil 4. I said Zelda already.
Oh, did you? Okay, forget it. Never mind.
Resident Evil 4 remake, which let's not forget, Resident Evil 2 was nominated for Game of the Year, the remake. Yep. You have Suicide Squad. You have Diablo 4, which of course I'm pimping for Game of the Year. You have Street Fighter 6. You have Final Fantasy 16. I mean, in theory, depending on how these games land, any of these games could be 92 plus Metacritic Game of the Year material, which is just like crazy to think about.
2018 all over again. I think that was the year where it was just insane. It was like God of War and Spider-Man. I was all that stuff. Or
Red Dead 2.
Red Dead 2. Yeah, I mean, it was nuts. This is completely opposite of last year for me because
I think so. Well, we'll see if it actually comes out because 2022, if I recalls, looked like this year, last year, and we did get a lot of good games, but a lot of the big stuff got pushed, which I know hurt you, Dan, because you only play the big stuff, right? I expect some of the games on the list probably won't be qualifiers for Game of the Year because. You know, sequels tend to retread and do less breakthrough stuff. Usually, there are, of course, exceptions. But for example, a game I love, Hades, which I think perfected the roguelike genre. Hades 2, it could re-perfect it. It could evolve it in some crazy way I don't think about. But more likely, I think, is probably that they just give fans more of what they want, different move sets and that sort of thing, different story, but more or less do what they did with Hades 1. And if that's the case, I don't think it's probably Game of the Year material. It's a very good sequel would be my guess, but some of these could be breakthrough games, could be stuff that's we're not expecting, you know, crazy stuff. So I'm excited about that stuff. I'm excited about the stuff we're not seeing coming, the stuff that's going to be evolutionary or revolutionary to the game industry. And I think there are some of these in here that could potentially be those games.
Yeah.
It's also not all sequels. You notice that?
No. Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I looking at, you know, when I was kind of sitting down and putting the notes together for this year, I'm probably at like the most excited I've been going into a year for game releases in a long time. I mean, I've already said it a million times. I'm a Diablo fanatic, so that goes without saying. I'm a Forza guy, that goes without saying. We get Starfield finally this year. You know, I'm just, this year has a lot going for it. And then you add in all the other things. Like I mentioned, Dead Island 2, I think it's going to be just fun, right? Street Fighter 6 looks absolutely nuts. And I've heard it's incredible to play. Haven't been fortunate enough to get into that kind of release trial yet. I'm hoping. But, you know, I love Street Fighter. So there's just a ton here. And the nice thing, right, as we go through this list, I don't know if you guys kind of noticed, but there's literally something for everyone, like 10 times over. There's all different genres, all different game types from family to mature to, everything's represented. And I just hope most of this hits because it's going to be an incredible year.
You guys think Armored Core drops this year?
Oh, that's one I didn't even put on the list. They did say 2023.
Which one?
Armored
Core.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one, man.
I think that one gets delayed.
Yeah, it might get delayed, but
from stuff games get delayed a lot. I mean, you can kind of tell some of these are going to get delayed. I think we'll see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at this point, it's there's so much. I mean, they're gonna. I mean, I don't know how often developers and studios, plan out their release dates based on other developers and studios releasing games. I don't know if that's
we've heard they don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. But at the same time,
unless it's Rockstar, then you avoid it because you're going to lose.
Yeah. I think they probably move weeks, but they're definitely not moving it a fiscal quarter or a year because of another game that's coming out. I just don't
that's
think
true.
that happens.
Always the money thing.
So, by the way, Gecko did follow up. I kind of scrolled back and went, and he said it was a joke. He missed a kind of word in there. But on this super chat where he said the only true FPS, he was referencing it was supposed to be champagne. So, like, the real champagne only comes from Champagne, France, the region of France called Champagne. So basically, he was making a joke that the only actual FPS is 60 FPS. Otherwise, it's not FPS. So that's what he was going for in that super chat. By the way,
I agree with you, Gecko.
We have great champagne in California. New York is growing.
It's not champagne.
Yeah,
I think that's an incorrect definition.
Yeah.
Maybe a pretentious one. I'm not sure.
And we got a super chat here from Darth Mac.
Oh man, missed that one. $10 super chats. Darth Mac, dear God, it just occurred to me that Hoeg is going to have his hands full when he recovers and gets back into gaming. Hopefully, the backlog won't be too big. Yes.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's
it's
going to be a lot.
Yeah.
I hope it is too big.
Yeah.
I hope he abandons all hope of ever catching up on his backlog.
Oh man, Darth Mac, thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat, Gecko. Glad we could clear that up. And yeah, guys. So let me pose the last question for you for the day, of course, which is knowing everything we just talked about. And funny enough, we didn't even talk a lot about Spider-Man 2, which, as we know, Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales both hugely celebrated. Spider-Man is the best-selling first-party game on PlayStation 4, PlayStation platform of all time, I believe. Maybe not of all time, maybe PlayStation 4 and 5. But Spider-Man 2 is obviously going to be a monster when that releases. I didn't mention it as much because it's not for me, but I know, like, Dan, you got to be pumped to hell about that.
Yeah, this is probably my most anticipated game this year. I don't even know what I'm expecting. I'm going to be honest with you, but I know Insomniac, they're going to be able to pull off whatever the heck they want. Yeah. I mean, they just seem to do it. And I hope this one has a better story. Not that I disliked Spider-Man's story. It just, it's kind of generic. I hope they improve a little bit just mechanic wise here and there. But I mean, really, I'd be fine with just a continuation of Peter Parker and Miles Morales being able to play them in the same game together. Super pumped for it. It's probably my number one, follow closely behind, Hogwarts Legacy, probably.
Okay.
And those two are probably the two I'm looking forward to the most.
Cool.
We'll see what else happens. I mean, System Shock remake, that's just going to be a fun one for me.
I'm looking forward to that one too. It's kind of
out. We'll see.
It's been in development for years,
forever,
many years.
Yeah. It looks like an amazing year. Amazing year.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. Here we don't do the nonsense, so it's cool to me to think that from a first party perspective, we're looking at three major pillars in Zelda, Starfield, and Spider-Man 2. I think that's just cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm excited for all of those.
Starfield being a presumable pillar, I think probably Forza Motorsport is more reliable.
Sure.
It's like we know that game's gonna be crazy.
Forza is more reliable, but I mean, Starfield's obviously the monster here. I think Redfall's going to be fantastic too. But I mean, let's be honest. The eyes are on Starfield.
Yep.
Bethesda
proper. They're good.
So that's kind of the funny thing. And the question I was going to pose to you guys and to the chat. So please let us know what you think. Looking at all these games, all these gigantic releases, what do you think wins Game of the Year? When I say wins Game of the Year, I don't just mean at the Game Awards. I mean kind of even if there's not an Elden Ring this year, right, which it doesn't look like there will be, what game wins the majority of Game of the Year awards across outlets, in your opinion?
Just by looking at the list
yes,
and not knowing much about anything, I would say Zelda. Like if I were putting money on it, that's what I would put money on.
The Vegas odds are on Zelda, is what you're saying.
That's what I would say, just right out the gate. But with that being said, there's so much unknown, I think, about everything else.
Of course, that's what makes it fun.
Right. But
I think
if it were odds, Zelda for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you're probably far off on that one. I think what I was going to say, the reason I brought that up now with Starfield is that if Starfield, and this is the question all of us have, right? If Starfield hits the ambitions that we know Bethesda and Howard and the team have, I think it's absolutely going to be right there and could win Game of the Year overall. Yes. But it has to hit those, and it has to come out of the gate polished. And I just hope, more than anything, that this extra delay they've taken is doing that, and that we see the game we all want to see out of Starfield. I don't care about the frame rate, just the game that we all want to see.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this list and I'm trying to do my best to think of it like I'm in Vegas, like actually voting. And this vote would this bet would be like, what, 1 to 6,000 odds, because that's such a hard. There's so many options. It's just a ridiculously hard thing to do. But I think if I were betting on this, like if I had to put money down, I think I would pick Diablo 4.
Yes, let's go.
Because
that's where I'm going.
And I'm just basing it off of other people's preference. I don't think it's going to be my game of the year, but I think if I had to bet what's going to be the most game of the year, because I think it's got the historical support behind it. It appears to be a very good game based on all of the previews and early stuff that I've seen. It's a type of game that I don't think has gotten a lot of evolution recently. It doesn't have a lot of competing products, etc. And so it could be huge because, I think Hades 2, probably too early. I don't know if they're going to evolve it enough. Same thing with Zelda. I think Zelda will be great, but they would have to do a lot to make it Game of the Year again. I think, like Hogwarts Legacy has a chance to surprise everyone and be Game of the Year. I think the game has a lot of potential. Based on what I've seen of the combat, I think that there's going to be some parts where people are like, the world is great, the story is good, but on actual gameplay, so I'm a little worried about that one. And Suicide Squad could also be that game that none of us saw coming and blows.
You hear this, Dan? He's just spreading his bets across like 48 titles.
No, I'm not betting on any of these. I'm trying to explain why I didn't pick them, because I think a lot of these have, like, they all have the potential. A lot of them. I'm looking at it as like, which one's gonna like surprise us and do the most for their genre, and has historical support among people who vote on these things and review games. And I know Diablo 4 has like rabid fan base. It's a sequel. It's from a studio that we know. A game like it hasn't won in a while. It just has all of the most of the kind of qualifiers I think that would win. So I'm gonna bet on that, even though it wouldn't be my game of the year. I think it'll probably win.
Those are the qualifiers. I would say Forza Motorsport would take that for me.
I would love to believe that.
Me too, because I bet you it'll come out the most polished. I bet you it'll be the most improved. I bet you it'll move the genre forward more than any other game out there, because they constantly.
It may win family racing game.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Dan, but I think your logic is flawed, because you need to look at historically racing games and their relationship with critics and the people that vote at the Game Awards. They do not vote for racing games as game of the year, period.
But
and so that's a bad bet, man. It's a bad bet. But given
I appreciate the bet myself.
But here's the thing: if the question was which one do we personally,
I know. Well, he said Zelda. He said Zelda.
I say Zelda. Yeah. If I were,
and I think most of the chat has said Zelda as well. A couple good points I want to call out, which is Abe in the house. Good to see you, brother. He says, I expect both that Starfield will be the most zeitgeist game, and it'll be polished by 2027 after hundreds of patches.
Yeah.
User patches.
Tough. User patches. Yes, that's true. And then
of a prediction.
Also, a very good point by our brother Bizzle. Diablo 4 will be decided as soon as it releases, because if it crashes like Diablo 3 on release, it will have a huge impact on how people feel about it. True, it has to launch well, and it's crazy to me that Blizzard still has so many issues with their launches. We saw it with Overwatch 2. So we'll see how that comes out of the gate. By the way, there was something else I was going to shout out. Mario and Opampa in the house with another 5 gifted channel memberships. You guys are super generous today. Generous, that's the damn word I was looking for earlier. And I just, super appreciative of you guys. So thank you so much, Pampa, Sark, and Midnight Jury for those channel membership contributions. It's awesome to see.
I realized I'm not a channel member. I can't use my own tie emoji.
No. Why don't you become a channel member, you cheapskate? What's wrong with you?
I never get around to it. That's my problem. I will do that here shortly. However,
you see what I'm dealing with?
I will not.
Travis has the IGN money over here. You know what I mean? And he just can't even support season gaming.
We get that for free. No,
IGN money famously.
No, there's no benefits we don't offer benefits here. Come on now.
It's too bad.
What is your game? You didn't really say yours.
My game.
You think will.
Yeah, so I'm cheating as well. I want to say Diablo 4. And a side note to you guys, I have a side bet with the guys over at Xbox Record This. A very fun. It's a small show, but very nice guys. Xbox show. If you like, if you want to hear about Xbox, obviously. But I bet them that Diablo 4 would outsell Starfield. They thought I was absolutely crazy, and I told them you don't understand how big the Diablo community is.
I don't think a lot of people are going to pay for Starfield when they got Game Pass.
Well,
or Diablo 4.
Yeah.
How are you going to measure that up?
Well, we said PC only, because Starfield obviously is Game Pass on Xbox, but then you have PC Game Pass where Starfield's going to be. So it's going to be close. We'll try and figure out that measurement, but I do think people underestimate just how big Diablo 4 is going to be.
If the deal goes through, it'll also be on Game Pass on Xbox.
If the deal finishes in time, we'll see.
It could be. It'd be around that window, June, July.
Yeah.
Can you do just highest concurrent players at a certain, between the, when they come out or something?
Maybe
like that?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, sure.
But I want to vote Diablo 4. I think that game, Travis kind of already nailed it. People don't realize how big Diablo major core releases are. I mean, they're tens and tens of millions of people. And I think that based on everything we've seen out of Diablo 4, including people playing it right now, it is going to be absolutely fantastic. All that said, I'm very similar to Dan and a lot of the chat, whereas if it was my money and I was actually betting this right now, it'd be on Zelda.
Really?
Yeah, it's Nintendo. It's Zelda. It's Nintendo and it's Zelda. I mean, I agree with you, Travis.
Yeah.
But I agree with you in terms of moving the bar forward. Sequel, will it be accepted? All these things doesn't matter. It's Nintendo and it's Zelda.
It's just not often that the direct follow-up, the next game in this short of a time span, wins. I don't know if I can think of any game that's done that.
Ragnarok got a 94 meta, just like 2018. And if it wasn't for Elden Ring, but I mean, Elden Ring is a generational game. If it wasn't for that game, it would have won.
I mean, there's a lot of close calls, but I don't know if any game's direct sequel has won Game of the Year. Let's see if I'm wrong. I would love to find an example. I want to see a game that
Red Dead 2, but it was 10 years later. Well, it didn't win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, but
it didn't win Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Yeah,
but that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about majority of awards, right? Overarching, recognizes Game of the Year.
I would love somebody to put together this data.
How about Last of Us 2? I mean, I don't know what.
It didn't win.
Last of Us win.
Last of Us 2 didn't win.
Didn't they?
No, Last of Us Sekiro, was it that won? What year was Last of Us 2?
I think it was the year after Sekiro, but yeah, it definitely didn't win. I would love to hear if there was a direct follow-up that won Game of the Year. Maybe GTA? No, GTA 4 didn't win.
Well, God, GTA are 15 years apart at this rate.
I'll count it, though. If somebody can find me an example, I will count it. I just want a direct follow-up. Last of Us 2 didn't win. I don't know why people are saying that.
So now we got to look it up. Sorry for the typing. I didn't mute in time.
Oh, well. What are you going to do?
Hear you typing. It'll give us some background noise.
All right. So Game of the Year awards.
Here's the thing: we're looking.
Come on, let's look it up. Let's look it up.
At your, yeah.
Last of Us 2 did win in 2020.
And there you go. Did The Last of Us win though?
Last of Us 2.
Okay,
maybe?
but now you're going back to Game of the Year awards.
Yeah, that's the Game Awards again. Yes, that is the Game Awards.
Yeah, because I'm talking about just like, because I know Last of Us 2 won at the Game Awards, but in general, it wasn't my outlet's choice. Like, I know that.
Yeah. And I don't think the Game Awards were in 2013. I think the first show was 2014. That's why. So it wasn't even there when Last of Us first released.
Yeah, there you go. So you can't use that metric either. It's interesting.
Yeah. By the way, and this has just occurred to me as I was looking at Wikipedia, there is we should see more on the new Dragon Age too this year. So pumped about that. That's just a random comment.
Great game.
But
that game's last game of the year. Inquisition.
That won Game of the Year in 2014. Yeah. So, and based on the conversation we had here and what we've seen of, you haven't heard of it, it could be another incredible game. By the way, the poll we had, which I'm going to end now, at 106 votes, is Starfield is at 30 FPS. Will it impact your enjoyment? 42% yes, 58% no. So,
yeah,
generally an even split.
So, by the way, I'm okay. I'm okay with it impacting your enjoyment if that's a factor that you really care about. But saying I'm not going to play it or I'm going to be pissed off about it not being,
I'm not mad.
That's where I draw the line. I was like, all right, not playing it because it's not 60 FPS. Come on, dude, you haven't even played the game. You don't know if it needs 60 FPS.
I played Requiem. I was like, I didn't finish it because I was like, I'm good.
But were you because of the frame rate, or were you like, because it just wasn't
the frame rate? I love
it. Oh, it's such a good game, man.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you that you were playing the game and you were like, well, I would love this if it weren't for the frames. Like, it's just so silly.
No, that's not what I was.
How are you guys back to this? Stop it.
No, I was just like,
let's get off this.
By the way, play it, Dan. It's good. It's better than the first one. All right. So as we close out our first week back, I hope we did Hoeg proud. Obviously, like we said at the top of the show, pay attention to Mrs. Hoeglaw on Twitter for updates on him. Obviously, every week, if there's a pertinent update or a meaningful update, we'll have it here as well. We may have some guests in the future. We're going to play Bitcast by ear. Honestly, it's just fun chatting with you guys again. I miss it when we're not doing the show. So good show today, guys. Chat, you've been fantastic today. Seriously, huge thanks out. Thanks out. Yeah, we're going to go with it. Knives out, whatever. Huge thanks to all of you hanging out with us, chatting with us, being part of the conversation, and all of you who became channel members and gifted channel memberships and super chatted. Just love the support. It means the world to me and everyone at SG. So thank you. Not much to really talk about. News is pretty light right now. If you're interested in Dead Island 2, I did a preview video of it last week, one of our season gaming shorts. So it's just a short 5-minute video on what you can expect at Dead Island 2 and kind of giving you all the known information that's out there about it. It may surprise you, so check that out. We are going to have a video up this week too on I don't have it laying next to me here, on a new keyboard for PC gamer device called the Shrimp, which I posted on Twitter a couple weeks ago. But it's this like compact mechanical keyboard for gaming, which is really cool. It's made in Denmark, so I've been checking that out. We'll have a video on that.
Is it made out of
It's made out of what?
Shrimp?
Thankfully not, because that just sounds disgusting.
Delicious also.
You said it's called the Shrimp, right? I didn't mishear.
It is. It's called the Shrimp. Other than that, as always, SG's ramping up for the year, so we'll have more in the future. And as we go to close out, Bizzle comes in with the late super chat.
Yeah. Cheers to a new year of SG and best wishes to Hoeg and his family. Thank you, Bizzle.
Thank you, Bizzle.
Agreed.
Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Be...
Yeah, it's going to be a good year, and Hoeg's going to get there. So,
back
Travis,
before you guys know it,
hit us up.
Yeah, I've got some content. I wrote my first actual news article for IGN where I did a deep dive on something that's happening with Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons licensing, and I interviewed people and I got quotes and I posted the article on IGN.com, so you can read about that. It's kind of interesting. It's not usually what I do, but I happen to be a big tabletop RPG fan, and they asked me if I knew enough to cover it, and so I did some actual journalism, which feels weird. You can read about that. You can also watch me just destroy this wide-eyed child named Ainsley Bowden in a cooking contest.
I forgot.
On,
that was hilarious.
On Season Gaming. You can check that out. I did that over the break. I happen to like cooking in my spare time. It's cathartic for me. And I decided to bring that skill to Season Gaming for a little fun bit that we did. And it turned out exactly as you'd expect, with one person being a Chad and one person being a virgin. So it's great. You should watch that.
Parchment paper.
It's good content. It was very fun. But other than that, all my previews and reviews are embargoed. I can't really talk about them right now, but hopefully in a week or two, I'll start having stuff come out that I can talk to you guys about. But right now, I'm hard at work on content that I can't really share with you just yet. So more from me in the future. I'm really excited about this year. I'm just so stoked that I get to write about games and review them, and I'm just, this year is so full of potential. So I'm very excited about everything.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to spoiler the video for people who haven't watched it, but it's worth watching anyway. But Bree says, I thought maybe Ains burned the brownies on purpose. Believe me, I did not. I don't normally cook a lot. I definitely don't bake a lot. And it was a long process for me to make those. And everything came out well originally. Like I said in the video, you then layer on, you do this extra step at the end to make it like a s'more. That's where things went awry. And my wife is still joking with me about when I opened the oven. This is not a joke. I opened the oven and just flames came out. I mean, it was just fire like across our kitchen. And she said the look on my face was like pure panic. And I was like, and yeah, anyway, it made for good.
So you did that thing where you did the final broiling layer, right? To cook the top, and the parchment paper wasn't flat. And so it touched the top of
it hit the top of the oven.
Yeah. So
good time.
That's
good time.
Yeah, good time. That like literally is like a classic beginner mistake of just like, parchment paper caught on fire. It's hilarious.
Wasn't quite 8 hours, Yago, but wasn't too far removed. I was a mess. I was definitely a mess. But anyway, the good news is my wife and my son actually ate the brownies once we scraped off the char.
What is wrong with people?
My God.
So I burn the hell out of my marshmallows when I make s'mores.
Some people like them that way. Yeah,
that was very burned. That was like oops, all char, no mallow.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they just crumbled apart into pieces. Yeah. So anyway, it was a good time. So you can check that out. Thanks for calling it out. We will be back next week. As always, we're back on our regular schedule now. So like I said, we may have some guests here and there. We're playing that by ear. So the shows will be by ear. But I really enjoyed, the show today and just kind of keeping Hoeg in spirits as we talk through things. That'll about do it for us for the week. But thank you again. I know I keep saying it, but I'm just super appreciative. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. And if you're tuning in later, hopefully you enjoy the show as well. Give us feedback, comment as always. And other than that, we will see you next Sunday. Till then.
McClunky.